of the hour 7 with Soviet Lechanyane, the ANC MP, and now the chairperson of the newly established ad hoc committee, multi-party committee, that will be probing these allegations while at the same time the Judicial Commission of Inquiry is on the go. So we'll also be clarifying the scope and role and how that complements rather than contradicts with the work that has been or competes with the work that is to be done by the Madlanga Commission. So that conversation with Soviet Lechanyane at the top of 7 a.m. What's that they say you should not do when you are in trouble? Stop digging. Don't dig any further. Well, the suspended CEO of the Independent Development Trust, the IDT, an agency of the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, Tebogo Malaka, and the entity's spokesperson, Pasha Magolane, don't seem to live by that maxim. In what Daily Maverick describes as, and I quote here, I quote how they put it in the article that dropped this morning, quote, possibly the most brazen act of attempted bribery ever recorded on camera in this country, end quote. The duo allegedly offered Daily Maverick investigative journalist Peter Louis Mayberg 60,000 rand in 200 rand banknotes stuffed in a luxury brand shopping bag in exchange for the publication dropping its reporting and investigation on Malaka and her property dealings and some of the dealings at the IDT in general. Unbeknown to them, Mayberg and his editors had roped in the assistance of lawyers and forensic investigators to help them expose the attempt, including capturing it in truly jaw-dropping video. So the story is at least an hour old on Daily Maverick, and they'll be talking to me about it at about, 7:15? Peter Louis Mayberg will come through and talk to me about that investigation. It's truly dramatic. The screenshots are shared in the article. I'm not chuckling. It's almost like an automatic response when I'm shocked. But you should read the article and see for yourself the screenshots from the video, that sting operation that was undertaken by Daily Maverick, and how it really is brazen, just pushing it across the table, this shopping bag, and nothing even registers among these two when Peter Louis Mayberg opens the bag, takes out his cell phone and starts taking pictures. What did you think was going on? What did you think he was doing? The penny didn't drop, it would seem, until he then told them the whole story. But, Peter Louis Mayberg will tell his own story when he talks to me in the second hour of the show. Nobody knows the troubles Kenny Gunene has seen, except though almost everybody knows the troubles Kenny Gunene has seen recently. Suspended as deputy president of the Patriotic Alliance, had to resign from his position as MMC in the city of Joburg, and now those troubles appear to be deepening. In the latest, his 2021 comments in a televised interview calling Julius Malema a cockroach, those comments have come back to haunt him. His appeal to the full bench of the Gauteng local division of the High Court in Johannesburg has floundered. The High Court has dismissed the appeal, confirming that calling Malema a cockroach 4 times in that interview, which coincidentally he had with me while I worked at ENCA, that calling him that meets the legal definition of hate speech, even in political discourse. It's an interesting judgment because it has implications going forward, because the judge, Stuart Wilson, who wrote the judgment on behalf of the full bench, had to grapple with the fact that political ideology or affiliation is not one of the 10 listed grounds on which hate speech can be grounded and founded. So we'll have, a proper discussion about what the implications are. Just overall the jurisprudence of the Equality Court and everything that is said about what qualifies as hate speech and what doesn't. You'll know, of course, about the song Dubule Punu that Julius Malema has been singing, and how that was found to not amount to hate speech, but this calling him a cockroach, even though it is based, it would seem, on political ideology or affiliation, actually has been interpreted to fit in, among what can ground hate speech. So we'll speak to Professor Angelo Dube from the School of Law at UNISA at about 8:45 this morning to help us make sense of some of this particular decision, in particular, and how it fits in with the jurisprudence, as I say, of the Equality Court. The full bench of the Morning Brief team is ready, able, and willing to serve you with your essential updates throughout the morning. And Musa at the ready with your hourly and half-hourly news updates. Rob Byrne confirms that he's got your traffic updates. Khan confirms your sports. Melissa Puta has your morning brief in brief coming up shortly. Dowling Lechela is and always is right on the money with your business and market updates. And Mo Africa, Sipho Mantula with your Africa update at about 20 to 7. You are an integral part of the conversation. There is no conversation that moves us unless it moves you. So do get involved. Give me a call on 086 000 2032. Please send me WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. Let's get the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the Morning Brief.
Yeah, kicking us off on our journey this morning is Melissa Puta with the Morning Brief in brief. Good morning to you, Melissa. Let's talk about the suspensions that have come through in Gauteng. The Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, releasing a slew of forensic investigations in the last few days. And these are some of the consequences that are flowing from that, yeah?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Yes, so Gauteng Community Safety Department Head Nontsikelelo Sisulu and CFO Duduzi Malope have been suspended following a forensic audit that uncovered financial irregularities. The suspensions are part of a broader action by the provincial government after releasing 39 forensic reports revealing corruption across multiple departments. Premier Panyaza Lesufi said the suspensions are precautionary and reaffirmed the government's commitment to integrity, zero tolerance for corruption, and restoring public trust.
Let's turn to issues to do with crime, Melissa. This is truly concerning. Out of Pretoria, worries about the possibility that there may be a serial killer on the loose.
This is a scary one indeed. Fears of a serial killer are rising in Pretoria after a fourth burned female body was discovered near Waterloo's train station, bringing the total number of murdered women in the area to 5 since June. 4 victims were burned along railway lines, while one was found partially buried. Police have formed a task team of detectives and forensic experts to investigate possible links between the cases. Police have urged the public to report any information with regards to these murders. So this is scary and one to follow quite closely.
Yeah, from the scary to the somewhat amusing. Melissa, tell me about Pineapple Insurance. What's wrong with saying, and I quote here in isiZulu, ukushayela ungenawo umshwalense kufana nokuthi dumelang kumshayeli weteksi. What's wrong with that?
So this is an interesting case. Pineapple Insurance has been ordered by the Advertising Regulatory Board to remove its good board advert, which, if we translate that, says driving without car insurance is like saying dumelang to a taxi driver. The ad attempted humor by referencing South African language dynamics, but was found to be offensive and discriminatory. A complaint argued that it relied on tribalistic stereotypes, suggesting taxi drivers are Zulu and hostile to Sotho greetings. Pineapple defended the ad as lighthearted and culturally inclusive, but the ARB ruled it reinforced rather harmful stereotypes, portraying Zulu taxi drivers as angry and potentially dangerous. The ad was deemed to promote negative assumptions and was ordered to be withdrawn immediately.
Yeah, all right. No, I'd love to hear what people think of it, what folks make of that ruling that says actually that reinforces tribalistic stereotypes, suggesting that taxi drivers are Zulu and hostile to Sotho Tswana greetings. Bathini ukushayela ungenawo umshwalense kufana nokuthi dumelang kumshayeli weteksi. The advertising regulatory board saying that is not acceptable. Lastly, Melissa, tell me about this councillor of the ANC in the Maluti Apofung municipality facing fraud charges.
Pastor Mary Crockett, an ANC ward councillor and MMC for social development in the Maluti Apofung local municipality, is facing fraud charges for allegedly selling government houses and vacant land. She was arrested over the weekend and remains in custody ahead of her bail hearing today. While opposition parties are calling for her removal as MMC, municipal and ANC officials emphasize that local processes must be followed, and she must be looked at as innocent until proven guilty. Crockett is also known for her international work in HIV and AIDS advocacy and support for local orphans. So we will see what the outcome of her bail hearing today will be, and we'll follow this one closely as well.
All right. Thank you for that, Melissa. That's Melissa Buta with the Morning Brief in brief.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, 2 warnings that have come through from the South African Weather Service. The first is a yellow level 1 warning. It says damaging waves leading to localized disruption to beachfront activities are expected between Alexander Bay and Plettenberg Bay. We also have another yellow level 1 warning. It says severe thunderstorms with large amounts of small hail resulting in localized damage to infrastructure, settlements, both formal and informal, property, vehicles, livelihood and livestock, as well as localized loss of agricultural production. Those conditions are expected over the Free State and eastern parts of the Northern Cape. The rest of your weather will be looking like this. We start in Pretoria, where the weather will be fine, becoming partly cloudy with a minimum of 9 and a maximum of 23. Johannesburg, partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 6 to 22. Mbombela, fine, becoming partly cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 9 to 25. Polokwane, fine, 6 to 24. Mahikeng will be cloudy and windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 8 to 15. Bloemfontein, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 9 to 12. Kimberley will be cloudy and windy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 7 to 12. Uppington will be partly cloudy and windy, 7 to 14. Cape Town, cloudy with light rain in the morning, becoming partly cloudy with a minimum of 11 and a maximum of 15. George, partly cloudy with a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 15. Gqeberha, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 9 to 15. East London, cloudy with scattered showers and rain, 13 to 16. Durban, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 20. Richards Bay will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 22. And lastly, Pietermaritzburg will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 7 to 19.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All. We honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
Let's take you to the United Kingdom now, where the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, has sparked renewed discussion about national identity and belonging after publicly stating that she no longer considers herself Nigerian, despite her heritage and upbringing in that country. In an interview on the Rosebud podcast, Badenoch opened up about her personal journey, citizenship status, and the reasons behind her deep identification with Britain rather than Nigeria. Roland Henwood is a political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria and joins me now. Good morning to you, Roland, and thank you for your time. There must be a reason in context why Kemi Badenoch's comments about no longer identifying with Nigeria resonated within British society and triggered the kind of debate that they have. What are those reasons as far as we understand them?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Well, I think firstly, this is a personal choice. The leader of the Conservative Party is known for speaking frankly and often ends up in controversy in terms of what she says. But the bottom line of this is it's a question of herself identifying in terms of who she is, what she stands for, and I think also importantly where she finds herself, and that is leader of the Conservative Party in the UK. And that is quite important in the sense that you are not only the leader of the party, but you become a position and a person of identification for people in the UK. And that may be quite important. To broaden the scope of this, we've seen a similar debate at some stage when President Obama was elected, and that was the expectation in Africa that he's going to be nice to Africa and good for Africa. In the end, he was another president of the US. And I think one is going to see the same thing in the UK, that this is the leader of the Conservative Party identifying as British. Of course, there are other identities involved in this, but the expectation that somebody in that position is going to identify as someone else or somewhere else, I think is a misconception of personality and of the role of that person. So there may be personal issues, there may be political issues, it may be positioning yourself, but in the end, it's also a question of choice that you have. She was born in the UK, she was raised in Nigeria and the US, so there are many identities, but in the end, it's the person that identifies where you belong and what you stand for.
And you rightly point out, Roland, that she speaks her mind, right? No matter how controversial and even at times, I don't know, some would say unpalatable, some of what she says is. To what extent is that about distinguishing themselves, that is the Conservatives, in juxtaposition to the Labour Party following that trouncing that they endured at the elections recently? For instance, her support for Israel is unwavering, even as the UK becomes increasingly critical of how Israel is waging war in Gaza. That's just one example. But, she's also spoken about issues like never really experiencing racial discrimination to any significant degree in the UK.
Well, that, and then also being very critical of some of the social legislation.
Yes.
So she has spoken her mind. And I think that's maybe one of the other issues, that within the UK, she is often seen as divisive. Now, that may be good or bad politics. Again, it depends on how you look at it, where you stand on this. From the outside, she seems to be an independent person, strong-willed. She's taking the lead, and she's not going to ask anyone's permission to say what she wants to say. Again, that is a question of identification, and one may be cynical and say, it's a typical political ploy. You are grandstanding, positioning yourself. Again, it's a leadership style, but it's also a personality style. And one must be careful not to always take away that freedom of a person to be who they are and identify as who they are, especially in today's world where there is so much attention and there is such a diverse set of views that are just flooding the system also through social media.
Yeah. In fact, very quickly, Roland, if you don't mind, let's touch on those comments about the social policies, because I found them when I was listening, it sounded to me, they were debating this whole idea of a 2-children cap in terms of social support, that she's arguing that should stay, it should not be removed. But it sounded to me at some point like she was making a point about, without saying it, she was actually saying that people who cannot afford to have children should not have more children than they can afford to. I don't know if I'm making sense. Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, that's part of the debate. But I think there's a different dimension. She's also now leader of the opposition. She has to keep in mind that she has to lead this party into a future election. The Labour Party is the main challenge, but there's also the Reform Party that seems to be developing into potentially a significant challenge to the Conservative Party. And these are the kinds of issues that divide the parties and divide the population, and she's already playing into these.
All right, thank you for that. That's Roland Henwood, who is a political scientist and commentator at the University of Pretoria.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, good morning to you, Zai. Tell me about Steve Barker and preparations to try and topple Sundowns. Will this be the year?
Well, I mean, if you're going to dream, you better dream big.
That we have a different champion other than Mamelodi Sundowns.
Yeah, he's very hopeful, this guy, Steve Barker. But he knows as well it's almost impossible to topple the likes of Sundowns. Now, at the launch of the 25-26 campaign in Johannesburg yesterday, Barker admitted they have ambitions of winning. Stellies have finished third in the league for 2 successive seasons now.
So we've got ambitions to win the league, there's no doubt in my mind, but I do know to win the league you also need to progress each and every year, and we're showing the right progression. We just got to hope maybe a team like Sundowns doesn't get above 70 points. If they're sort of in the lower region, in the lower 60s, then anything is possible.
Moving on to the other side, the Premier League, Manchester United and Newcastle have both placed competing bids for in-demand RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko. The German tabloid said the Red Devils made an initial bid of 1.7 billion. Newcastle have reportedly offered 1.6 billion for the striker. Elsewhere, rugby, Springbok captain Siya Kolisi has called on South Africans to rally behind the Bok women ahead of the Women's Rugby World Cup in England later this month. Kolisi says the team's recent 41-24 win over a New Zealand Black Ferns side shows their growing confidence and believes they can reach the quarterfinals despite a tough Pool D that includes Brazil, Italy and France. The Bok women opened their campaign against Brazil on the 24th of August. And finally, tennis, Naomi Osaka powering her way into the first National Bank Open semi-final, beating the number 10 seed Elina Svitolina. Osaka advanced to face the number 16 seed Clara Tauson, who eliminated Madison Keys. That's a wrap. Let's serve up more sport. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Trump administration has announced it's halting $500 million worth of vaccine development projects aiming to produce antidotes for respiratory viruses like flu and COVID-19. South Africa has raised concerns with Eswatini over the arrival of a group of high-risk criminals deported from the United States. The individuals are from various countries, and some of them have been convicted of child rape, murder and robbery. And 24 illegal miners who resurfaced at the Sheba Gold Mine in Barberton and Mpumalanga on Monday are expected to appear in the local magistrates' court today. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Looks a lot better today than it did yesterday. Coming into Joburg from the south. This time yesterday we had a fully loaded set of highways from the Diepkloof interchange right through sort of Alberton up towards Bedford on the N3. This morning it's all sort of normalised. It is busy, but it's just moving under peak conditions, if you like. The real standout still the Micah 1. That's heavy. It's the first of the highways around Gauteng to fill up every morning. And this morning you're already sitting from Gold Reef City up towards Empire Road. A little bit of further disruption on the N1 as you approach the Grayston Drive exit coming in to Sandton from Melrose. Eskia and Pwllheli in Pretoria queuing down towards Fiverhof this morning. Behind that, the Mopani Highway pushing a queue halfway back towards Bremer. So that looks busy again. Durban protesting early this morning along the M4 south of Westbrook at the famous landmark beach bumps. That has been cleared. There might be a bit of debris, sort of burnt tyres on the roads, but the diversion out from Westbrook to the N2 has been lifted. So that traffic should be able to get straight through now. Ballito through to Durban via Westbrook and La Mercy. Breakdown at Ashburton earlier today. That's been cleared, so that traffic backlog starting to move out of Pietermaritzburg to Durban. And Cape Town looking pretty heavy. I think a lot of people took a bit of a gap yesterday because of the rain. Maybe the work from home crowd stayed away, but it's back to full traffic today. N1 Belleville through to Sable Road. N2 from Khayelitsha right through to Mowbray Main Road. The M7 out of Mitchell's Plain queuing up towards Samora Michelle. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Yeah, the first update of the morning. Let's turn to Ndauling Lechela. Good morning to you, Ndauling. What's new? Trump, tariffs, but this time around a different sector, a critical sector. Tell me about what he wants to see around the chip manufacturing sector.
Morning, Tula. So President Trump announced plans to impose new tariffs on semiconductors, aiming, of course, to boost domestic production in the U.S. During a CNBC interview, the president stated that the announcement would be made within the next week or so. This move is part of Trump's broader trade policy, which includes tariffs on imported goods to encourage American manufacturing. Now, the tariffs on chips could significantly impact the tech industry, particularly given the global demand for these components in sectors like AI. Now, most of the world's advanced semiconductors come from Taiwan, home of Chip Foundry, TSMC, which manufactures NVIDIA chips. That nation is already facing a 20% tariff on its goods starting this week, down from the previously threatened 32%. Now, following this announcement, the likes of NVIDIA and Broadcom came under pressure with share prices trending lower.
And then back here at home, tell me about our antitrust law, our competition law authorities giving the Sanlam Time Bank deal the thumbs up.
Yes, so the Competition Tribunal has given the green light to the merger between digital lender Time Bank and Sanlam's personal loans business. This partnership, announced in April, aims to offer unsecured personal loans with embedded credit life insurance, leveraging Time Bank's digital infrastructure and Sanlam's lending expertise. Now, under the deal, Time Bank will acquire a 50% stake in Sanlam Personal Loans Service, now to be renamed Sanlam Time JV Co., and a portion of Sanlam's existing unsecured loan book, valued at about 5 billion rands. Now, Time Bank will pay about 400 million rands for half of the loan book, 320 million rands for the reference share in credit life profits, and about 31.5 million rands for its 50% equity stake in the JV. This collaboration, both groups say, will allow the companies to tap into each other's customer bases and platforms, presenting cross-selling opportunities. Sanlam will benefit from Time Bank's digital systems, including fraud management, while Time Bank will gain access to Sanlam's customer base and established lending operation.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we still do need to do a deep dive into, the recent moves in the competition space in South Africa. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you for reminding me.
And lastly, Ndauling, how are the markets looking?
So starting in the US, stocks taking a dip overnight following disappointing data that suggests that the US economy might be under pressure. A weaker than expected report on activity for US businesses and services industries like transportation and retail added to worries that President Trump's tariffs may be hurting the economy. With that, the tech-heavy NASDAQ led the losses, down 0.65%. Coming back home, the JSE mostly in the green in yesterday's session, with the all share up over 0.33%. The Financial 15, however, the only indice trading in the opposite direction in the red, following a downbeat forecast from Nedbank. Now, in currency action, the rand steadily recovering as the dollar softens. It's at 17.86 to the greenback this hour. Oil also recovering from a 5-week low. It's trading close to $67 per barrel. Lastly, in Asia, stocks mixed this morning as traders assess the possibility of tariffs on the semiconductor industry.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll talk to you again in the second hour, just after 7:30.
Africa update on SAFM.
For that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Good morning to you, Raz. Let's start in Yaoundé in Cameroon. So the doors have been firmly shut against the presidential ambitions of one Maurice Kamto.
Refreshing morning, Tulas and Jumbo Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Tulas, others are saying it's a legal dead end that forces what we call political gambit. Now here, Tulas, what we see is that yesterday the Cameroonian Constitutional Council rejected this appeal to us on the basis of that it lacks legal justification. But the lawyers are saying that they will now pursue what they call political remedies. Hence, earlier I used the word political gambit. Now, this Kamto candidate to us is also jeopardized. His intentions to run for presidency, because this has been his dream to be always contesting Paul Biya. And other analysts in Cameroon are calling this that it will raise tensions in terms of public order and the disorder that will ensue to us. But this is what has been coming. I've said it yesterday, there are more than 35 appeals, and when you see this one, it confirms the Electoral Commission of Cameroon for not allowing Maurice Kamto to participate in the presidential election slated on the 12th of October.
Yeah. Back in Southern Africa, I see that Cabo Delgado is again a flashpoint.
Yes, it is the flashpoint, and we cannot miss it in the sense that the UN humanitarian response plan has only received 19% of the pledges. Now, this is a challenge that last month, Chulas, we had a challenge where you had more than 57,000 people and 13 families who have been moved out due to the conflict that is in the northern part of Mozambique. And we know that Cabo Delgado, Chulas, has been on the SADC agenda, the AU agenda, the UN agenda, and the role of Rwandan soldiers, Chulas, who have been who have been deployed to assist Mozambique to fight the armed groups that are in that area. SADC has moved out, remember, Chulas, but the issue is that Cabo Delgado, what are the push and the pull factors? We know it very well, Chulas. The offshore natural gas reserves is one of the pull triggers of this current conflict, and children and women are becoming the victims.
Yeah, and the UN and the international governance infrastructure under the spotlight at a seminar at UNISA today.
That is quite true, Tulas. DIRCO and UNISA, they are taking on UN at 80. Remember, UN at 80, Tulas, it will be commemorated around October, but now it is important why today we have to look at the architect of UN on the peace architect of World War II and the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. It is under this thing, Tulas, that you will recall that between today and the 9th of August 1945, you had what we know as the atomic bombs that attacked the civilians in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And that's where, Tulas, the engagement of today at the University of the Land will be led by the Deputy Minister, Alvin Botes, and the Principal and the Vice Chancellor, Puleng Zinkabula. We'll be looking just, Tulas, to say what is the intellectual intervention, what is the diplomatic reflection of this 8 years of UN, looking at the crisis that we have in Africa, Tulas, whether Somalia, Sudan, Sahel, you look at Europe, Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, and that's where, Tulas, you need to still interrogate. Is still the UN Security Council a peace architect? What then is the role of the UN General Assembly? What is then the role of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty with the US and Iran crisis that we saw in the past months?
Yeah, speaking of the UN then, it's the subject of one of the two key events that you've pulled up in your historical archives. Take me to 6 August 1960 as well as 6 August 1962.
65 years ago on this day, the UN late Secretary General Daha Hammarskjöld asked the UN Security Council to lay down the rules for them to enter the DRC. You'll recall that is the beginning when the DRC, we had the challenge of the Belgians who were in DRC and Lumumba demanding their removal, and the UN saying that they will enter the DRC but not interfere in the internal affairs of the DRC. Today we still talk about the DRC 265 years later. They are still in the DRC, the blue helmets. 63 years ago, we are going to the African diaspora. Kingston, Jamaica, Tula, is Independence Day today. They call it Emancipendence. They don't call it independence. They call it Emancipendence. Now, 1962, Jamaica was liberated from the British colonial rule. You'll recall it was through the referendum to us that Jamaicans under the Labour Party, Bustamante was the prime minister during that time. But still, to us, independence, dependence, emancipation.
Yeah.
But you still have this issue of the Queen. Remember this thing of the Queen still being the head of the Commonwealth, and those
Yes.
are the dynamics of the Caribbeans or the African diaspora. You still have the Queen as the head, but you can run your flag, your anthem, your governance, but you still bow to the former colonial master.
The head of state is not where you are, is
No, it's
sitting
not,
somewhere in Britain.
That is the problem. But anyway, we say Jamaica is Independence Day today, 63 years. South Africa has a great relation with Jamaica. To last professor, there's one professor, I don't know why his name just slipped on my mind now. He was based in Jamaica from South Africa. That's how they link of Kingston, Jamaica, and South Africa. Asante sana Thulas. I want to touch about yesterday, authentic, original, real Makoya or not real Makoya, but I want to touch on it. I was listening attentively.
What's that they say, Sipho? Ivale Mfana. Ivale Mfana. Let's leave it there. That's Sipho Mantula with your Africa update there.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
The Almorovids have a secret plan to steal the show from the hosts, but Taifa Stars are gunning for their second victory to delight their home fans. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Catch Mauritania versus Tanzania this Wednesday, 6 August at 7 p.m. Live everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For news on South African industry and mining, Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly has you covered. Click through to Creamer Media's Engineering News each day for the latest on the people and companies shaping the energy transition and South African industry. Keep your finger on the critical minerals pulse by visiting Creamer Media's Mining Weekly. For deeper insight, subscribe to the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, out on Fridays. Creamer Media, current, credible, comprehensive.
It is time to experience spectacular football talent from 19 African nations. East Africa is on full vibration. From Tanzania, Kenya to Uganda, the pitch personnel are hungry for continental glory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Witness Jan 2024 on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 from 2 to 30 August 2025. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
14 minutes to 7 on this Wednesday. Here's some news coming out of the taxi industry that will hopefully reshape its image, right, and cast them in a better light among South Africans. The South African National Taxi Council, SANTACO, says it's taking decisive steps to improve the image and operations of the minibus taxi industry. This comes in the wake of a recent Taxi Peace Summit, which was held in Cape Town, where various stakeholders, including government officials, law enforcement and taxi associations, convened to address the long-standing issues of violence and criminality in the sector. So let's speak to Mandla Hermanas, who is chairperson of SANTACO in the Western Cape. Good morning to you, Mandla, and thank you for your time. Let me start straight up because there are many aspects of how the taxi industry, minibus taxi industry operates that keep coming to the fore from time to time, raising concerns. But I think front and center of it all would be issues around violence between taxi associations, violence that has seen a number of people killed, usually your customers. What will make this latest Peace Summit succeed where other previous attempts and undertakings have failed?
Good morning, Thulas, and thanks for having me. One of the things that we were all anxious about as we were going through the summit and the deliberation was the recognition that this cannot be just one of those talk shows where we talk about the challenges, but afterwards nothing happens. We don't take any steps to address the very same things that we've been able to identify. So we were very clear that after the summit, then we need to sit down and have an action plan so that all the things that have been raised, we are able to tackle them one by one. And as a result, in the next month, we will convene a minibus taxi task team to review everything that was debated at the summit and all the proposals that were made and identify key priority areas and draft action plans so that when we reconvene next year, we don't again talk, we are able to evaluate and say, in terms of what we had identified, we have been able to address things in this way or that way. So we are mindful that this cannot be just one of those talk shops where we talk about challenges, but on the ground, nothing happens.
I suggest to you that unless the summit that you had and your initiatives going forward address the core issue of carving out of routes and the fair sharing of routes and competitiveness, as well as removing firearms from the industry, we're going nowhere slowly. You don't want it to be another talk shop, but I suggest to you, unless those two core issues that are almost always at the heart of conflicts in the industry, unless those are addressed, we're going nowhere slowly.
Yes, that's one of the critical things that we've been able to identify. Unfortunately, even government itself, they recognize that when it comes to the sharing of routes, the allocation of similar operating licenses to multiple associations is one of the root causes of the violence that we see now and again erupting within the minibus taxi industry. So those are the critical things that must be addressed. And in instances where the operating licenses are already there, the associations are already sharing those routes, whilst it's still peaceful, what we also realize is that the sharing has always been based on a gentleman's agreement between the association. So when the executives of the associations change, new people come in, they don't stick to those gentlemen's agreements because those agreements were never formalized. So what we have said is that where the sharing of routes is happening, those agreements must be formal and must be signed on by the city, the province, Santaco, and those associations. And there must be consequences for deviation, because what happens is when people don't stick to the original agreements, and because those agreements were never formalized, and then there's always contestation, no, we did not agree to that, we agreed to that. So we want to formalize that so that we can act.
Lastly, Mandla, your industry, particularly Santaco, you're never short of commendable ideas, right? Everyone still remembers the time when you were talking about Santaco Airlines, and recently you were talking about integrating into the broader transportation and tourism sector. Now you're talking cashless payment systems, universal branding. Tell me about those and how you aim to implement them such that they improve the efficiency of operations, but also the image of the industry. Will the cashless payment system, for example, be accepted by your members at operation level?
Yes, the cashless payment system, because we've had engagement, and then this comes back from the early 90s, the talks of having cashless payment system. The operators are in full support, because what that does, there's always now this mistrust between operators and drivers, where operators always feel that what they get at the end of the day is determined by the drivers. So it does not actually reflect exactly what is happening on the ground. So they always believe that if we go cashless, that will mean more money in the hands of the operators. But also then what we are saying is that that should also translate to better working conditions and the formal recognition of our drivers. If they are able to bring in more money through cashless payment systems, they should also benefit because they are at the coalface. They are the face of the industry, actually. So if we do not take care of them, then these things won't happen because drivers will be resistant to such things that will take away money from them, and yet they are not being taken care of.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Mandla Hermanas, chairperson of Santaco in the Western Cape.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Couple of stories that we're watching. One is the earlier protesting in Durban between Westbrook and Lemercy on the M4. You might know the location as beach bums. The protesters have been cleared, but they left a bit of a mess, so there may be some debris to work through as you come through that area. Belito through Durban, likely to be affected there. Joburg this morning looking generally fairly normal, I would say. The Mike 1 M2 routes through Crown are under quite a bit of pressure. Mike 1 Boysons to Empire M2 from Joe Slovo backlogging through towards the Crown. And Cape Town, busy conditions out of Tableview this morning. Lights are down Bloberg at Boydachuda, Kuberg at the Workshard, which is just south of the big Bloberg-Kuberg junction, and then Kuberg and Plattekloof Road. Those lights are out. So if you're heading out of Tableview towards the refinery, it's a very busy run through, and a crash on Symphony Road in the central Delft area, causing some quite heavy backlogs both ways. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This year, the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival presents 3 unforgettable days deep in the art and heart of jazz. From the 26th, 27th and 28th of September, Umu Sankare, Ababemu, Jasmia Horn, Silent Moore and the Noisemakers, Najbonk Trio, Michelle Ndingio-Jello, Willem Siini, Gabby Mutuba, and over 50 world-class acts will be ready to welcome you and yours to 4 magnificent stages of the Sandton Convention Center. Take me there. Buy your tickets at Ticketmaster now.
Channel your inner warrior women this August on Expresso as we celebrate and empower women across South Africa. From trailblazing heroines to inspiring entrepreneurs, we spotlight stories of strength, resilience, and change. Join us for powerful panel chats, wisdom, wellness, and bold conversations on equality, GBV, and women's rights. This Women's Month, rise with the women leading our nation forward. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. only on S3.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
Credit to the initial reporting of Ground Up on this story. Moving house can be stressful for any individual, as many of us would know, but it seems uprooting the home base of one of the country's key cogs in the fight against corruption, the Special Tribunal, is proving to be just as headache-inducing. A decision to relocate the tribunal from its base at the Boysons Magistrates Court in the south of Joburg to Pretoria has triggered a fair amount of controversy, not least for the fact that its current president, Judge Margaret Victor, was reportedly not consulted enough about the move, which was initiated before her tenure started, even though it was ultimately gazetted in her name. So let's speak to Mbegazeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Do we know enough about what necessitated this move to understand what its rationale is to move the court, the tribunal, from Boysons to Pretoria?
Good morning to us and good morning to your listeners. Look, the Department of Justice has given an explanation that the reason for the move was because there was free office accommodation that was available in central Pretoria. And so they thought it made more sense to move the tribunal to Pretoria because currently the office space that the tribunal was occupying in Boysons had apparently been earmarked for other uses. And so that is the primary rationale, that the office space seem to have been more available in Pretoria than in Johannesburg. But we view this move in a broader context to us, in that a year ago, the Special Tribunal effectively collapsed simply because it was not attended to in terms of its staffing and other resources. And now it does seem that, yet again, the Special Tribunal is being moved from a place where it was operating quite successfully for the last 6 years, and it's moving to a new place. So it does seem that the decisions about the Special Tribunal don't always seem to go in the direction that favors the fight against corruption and seem to destabilize the institution.
What are the implications as far as courtroom availability for actual hearings? Because there's the one element, the administrative part of the tribunal, then there's the actual sittings. My understanding is that Boysens, being a new courtroom, a new court, has many courtrooms, and availability was not an issue there?
Yes, one of the officials of the tribunal is quoted in the ground-up report as saying they've never had a problem with accessing a court while they were in Boysens. So they would literally just walk into a courtroom and they could proceed with their matters. In Pretoria, the story is different because now they are in the same building as the Family Advocate and the Magistrates Commission. So if they ever need a court, they would need to find it in Pretoria. And we know that the Pretoria Magistrates Court burnt down 15 years ago now, and it hasn't been fully rebuilt. We know that the High Court building is also under some pressure. So we wonder where the court building or the courtroom would be found in Pretoria in order to take care of the needs of the Special Tribunal. It might very well be that the administrative component will be in Pretoria, and then they will still use the Boysens Court, which would defeats the purpose of the efficiency that the Department of Justice speak about.
Speaking of phenomena that defeats the purpose, the one worrying aspect for me, and I think that's what jumped out at me the most in this article, this suggestion that the court had effectively collapsed in terms of the full bench of judges that is meant to be available. Talk to me about that, because from reading the article, it seems we ended up with a situation where the SIU, in trying to recover monies and assets that are proceeds of corruption, ended up now having to queue up for the normal court roles in the high courts and the likes.
So yes, during the course of last year, all of the judges in the Special Tribunal sort of migrated back to their high courts, and they were no longer involved in Special Tribunal work. The only remaining judge was Judge Modiba, who herself resigned at the end of June last year. So between June and November, the Special Tribunal did not operate. They did not function at all, and that built up a lot of the SIU case backlogs that we saw. It was revived towards the end of last year when the president appointed a new complement of judges. But what this speaks to us is the fundamental problem of the Special Tribunal. It operates as effectively a court that is supposed to recover some of the assets that were lost through corruption. But its independence and its functionality seem to always be dependent on the whims of the Department of Justice. And that makes it, unfortunately, vulnerable in this fight against corruption.
And of course, that conversation has now come to the fore quite sharply, the institutional independence of the judiciary. I've got to leave it there. Thank you for your time. Mbegezeli Benjamin, Research and Advocacy Officer at Judges Matter. Let's go straight to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, Trump administration pulls funding for some COVID-19 and flu vaccines, and South Africa raises immigration concerns with Eswatini. Good morning. The Trump administration has announced it's halting $500 million worth of vaccine development projects, aiming to produce antidotes for respiratory viruses like flu and COVID-19. The projects were being led by some of the world's leading pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer. The U.S. Health Secretary Robert Kennedy says 22 vaccine projects will be halted. The BBC's David Willis has the details.
In a statement, Robert F. Kennedy said that having reviewed the science, his department had concluded that mRNA-based vaccines failed to protect against infections such as COVID and the flu. Nearly $500 million in federal funding that had been set aside for their development will now be used to develop what the Health Secretary called safer vaccine platforms. The rapid deployment of mRNA vaccines, spurred by President Trump, was widely credited with slowing the spread of the COVID pandemic and earned the technology's pioneers the Nobel Prize in Medicine.
Earlier, US President Donald Trump announced levies on imported medicines could rise as high as 250%, saying he wants pharmaceuticals to be made in the United States. South Africa's raised concerns with Eswatini over the arrival of a group of high-risk criminals deported from the United States. The individuals are from various countries and some of them have been convicted of child rape, murder and robbery. According to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, Eswatini and the US intend to work with the International Organization for Migration to return the inmates to their home countries. Dirko notes, however, that it's unlikely they will be accepted. Spokesperson for the minister, Crispin Piri.
Whilst respecting the sovereign decision of the government of Eswatini, the government of the Republic of South Africa is deeply concerned about the profile of these individuals and the potential adverse impact on South Africa's national security and immigration policy, given the geographical proximity between the two sisterly countries.
24 illegal miners who resurfaced at the Sheba gold mine in Barberton and Mpumalanga on Monday are expected to appear in the local magistrates' court today. 28 others resurfaced yesterday and will appear in court tomorrow. They are facing charges which includes contravening the Immigration Act and illegal mining. Advocacy movement Soil of Africa is demanding permanent solutions to basic water service issues faced by thousands of informal settlement residents in the city of Tshwane. The movement says this has affected many small black-owned businesses, leaving dozens of residents without income. Soil of Africa chairperson Bongani Ramoncha says they've given the city of Tshwane 72 hours to respond.
The city's refusal to pay contracted water providers since April 2025 is the root cause of this disaster. Soil of Africa demands the following: immediate payment of all outstanding invoices to affected service providers, full and immediate restoration of water delivery to all impacted formal settlement, a public explanation from the city outline how this crisis occurred, what permanent solutions are in place, and who will be held accountable.
And finally, aid has arrived in Plettenberg Bay in the Western Cape for the victims of Monday's fire at an informal area in Bosjesgif. 165 structures were gutted, leaving around 300 people homeless. The Bateau municipality has secured materials for those affected to build new structures. Gift of the Givers dispatched a truck from Cape Town and handed out food parcels, blankets and mattresses. Mario Ferreira is the Garden Route Coordinator for Gift of the Givers.
We are doing a drop in the ocean if we look at what this people has lost. We can never replace what they've lost, but we're just trying to assist them to get on the go again. Not having to buy some food, the essential things, the emergency relief items to just keep them going. So we've brought in some food parcels, we brought in toiletries, hygiene packs, mattresses, nappies for kids, blankets.
Recapping the top story, the Trump administration has announced it's halting $500 million worth of vaccine development projects aiming to produce antidotes for respiratory viruses like flu and COVID-19. For SFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Just phone Outsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
How is it that Outsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible! What brought you and Outsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information
relocation online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SFM Sports headlines. We're building up to the Premier Soccer League with the Stellies coach Steve Barker saying he's eyeing the match with Kaizer Chiefs as a launch pad to topple Mamelodi Sundowns. And in tennis action, the Canadian teen sensation Victoria Mboko dominating her way into the National Bank Open semi-finals. Let's bring you details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, Joburg. First up, heavy on the way into the airport coming out of Pretoria and Tembisa. The roadworks, first up, causing delays southbound into Pomona Road. A double lane closure there. Once you work through that, you're automatically back in traffic, queuing down to a crash scene opposite the airport, just past 4 Trekker Road down by the R24 split. So 2 queues to work through, and it's pretty heavy. A crash on the Micron North near Greyston Drive, causing delays from Houghton up through Melrose in towards Sandton this morning. And if you're driving into Pretoria from the north, Eskia and Pathlele jamming into the Marabastad area. Durban side today, the N2 looking fairly slow between the M7 and Westwood Mall territory. The M4 between La Mercy and Westwood opened after earlier protesting near the Beach Bums landmark this morning. Might be a bit of debris, but you can get through. And Cape Town, a crash on the N2 driving into town at Khayelitsha Spine Road, so coming through from Baden Powell. That's quite slow. And there's also big backlogs of traffic this morning coming out of Tableview. Lights down on the Kuberg Road, Plattekloof Road, Kuberg Road at that workyard area opposite the refinery, and Bloberg and Boy de Goede in the heart of Tableview. Those lights down as well. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
9 minutes after 7 on this Wednesday. Good morning. It's great to be in your company. We are into the second hour of the Morning Brief here on SAFM 104 to 107. So we'll get to that story then in just a moment that just landed from Daily Maverick literally about 2 hours ago at 5 a.m. They publicized it. It's a story about what do they call it? What's that word? Skullduggery. Skullduggery. What do you do when you have a problem and you are the CEO of an agency of the department, one of the government departments, and you see that you have a problem with a muckraking bunch of journalists who are poking their noses everywhere and asking questions about your business? You would think the priority would be to answer those questions and attend to those issues. Well, it would seem that the IDT, the suspended IDT, Independent Development Trust CEO, Tebogo Malaka, and the entity's spokesperson, Pasha Makholane, had other ideas, right? And they thought this is a problem that you can simply fix. Stuff 200 Rand banknotes that amount to 60,000 Rand into a luxury shopping bag and just slide it across the table to the journalist that you are meeting out in the Western Cape at a wine farm restaurant. So Peter Louis Mayberg will share his story with us in the next few minutes. And then the other story that we will get to, remember when just about a week ago or so, the allegations first came up that there may be training camps for Basotho nationals who want to reclaim land that historically they believe belongs to South Africa. What was the response from our authorities? There's no there, right? We've checked everywhere. There's no there. Well, you might want to hold on to that thought. After further engagement between the South African Police Commissioner and the Lesotho Police Commissioner, it seems that there is there to a certain extent. Not 100%, but, it's not entirely baseless. So we'll be in conversation with the SAPS Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Tibelo Musikidi. That's just some of what we will cover in this hour. But I do want you to give me a call and also engage on these issues and others that may be exercising your mind. You can do that by calling me on 086 000 2032 or sending me a WhatsApp voice note on 061 410 4107. Let me say it the way Kathy does, right? It sounds right. 0614 104 107. Yeah, I'll get the hang of that. Let's get the second hour of the Wednesday edition of the Morning Brief underway.
EFC is live this Thursday in the heart of Africa. Battle lines or draw. Africa's best face Europe's elite. Vili, the White Lion van Rooyen, is now back to defend his title against Anatoly Gaffin. And Ntando, the Zulu warrior zombie, receives the challenge of the fearsome Muhammad Salohidinov. EFC 126 is live this Thursday from the World Sports Betting Arena. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The boardroom heat is on and the pressure is rising. The Insurance Apprentice, hosted by the one and only Babi Moloi, is delivering drama, tough decisions, and big personalities every week. Expect bold moves, emotional twists, and contestants you'll either root for or roast. And yes, you'll be surprised what you learn about insurance along the way. Open up to the Insurance Apprentice, Thursdays at 7 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
Chasing the Sun is a 5-part South African sport documentary series. An inspiring story of the 4-time World Rugby champions, the Springboks. The journey of winning the Rugby World Cup, a behind-the-scenes look of how the green and gold team overcame adversity, divisions, and doubt to become world champs. Be there when history shines. Tune into SABC2 on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. from 13 July to 10 August. Also available anytime, anywhere on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
What's that they say that you should do when you are in trouble? Stop digging. Well, the suspended CEO of the Independent Development Trust, Tebogo Malaka, and the entity's spokesperson, Pasha Makholane, don't seem to live by that maxim. In what Daily Maverick has described as, and I quote here, possibly the most brazen act of attempted bribery ever recorded on camera in this country, end quote. The duo allegedly offered Daily Maverick investigative journalist Peter Louis Mayberg 60,000 rand in 200 rand banknotes stuffed in a luxury brand shopping bag in exchange for what they hoped would be the publication dropping its reporting on Malaka and her property dealings. Let me let Peter Louis Mayberg pick up the story from here. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. 2 hours ago you published this story. Tell me what happened.
Morning, Thulasizwe. Morning to your listeners. Yes, so on past Sunday, I had a meeting with the RDT suspended CEO, Tebogo Malaka, and she was joined by Pasha Makholane, the spokesperson of the entity. And in short, yes, they did offer me 60,000 rand in cash. And, you know, this comes on the back of months-long, weeks of interactions between myself and Mr. Makholane. We'd kind of been negotiating on behalf of the IDT CEO for this meeting to be set up. And just a bit of brief background, it all relates to an investigation that I'd been doing into an IDT contract that also links or appears to be linked to a property that's being built for Ms. Malaka in Gauteng. And that investigation will be published by Daily Maverick within the next couple of days.
So that's the problem that ostensibly they wanted to go away. Tell me about the build-up to this particular meeting. At what point did you get a sense that these people are not discussing, meeting and talking and going over the questions that I have? They're actually trying to steer the conversation in a different direction.
Yeah, no, definitely. So actually, to answer your question, that happened very much from the get-go. So I was contacted by Pasha Makholane at the start of June, quite out of the blue. I did not have any outstanding media queries with the IDT. I'd not been in contact with him recently. But what did happen at that point is I'd been making some progress with my investigations into this property issue that I'm looking into and into the IDT contract. So I think word of that must have gotten back to them. Then I was contacted out of the blue by Mr. Makholane, and you know, just very from the outset, very much the language and the phrases that he was using tipped me off that this was not a normal journalist to spokesperson interaction. He was saying that we could find some mutual interests And he was saying he wanted to discuss very sensitive things with me. And then he also said that he first wanted to have a meeting with me, and that this meeting would be in preparation for a second meeting where his boss, Ms. Malaka, would also be present. And by that point, I just concluded that this was where we were heading, that they were going to try and make some sort of an offer to me.
So you then rope in your legal team as Daily Maverick, as well as other people that can assist you from a forensic perspective. Tell me, just in your own words, I saw the video. In fact, I saw the screenshots of the video that sort of detail moment by moment the key moments in that video. It's impossible to describe just how extraordinary it is, but, give it a try. You were there. What happens when you now meet these people at that farm in wine farm in the Western Cape?
Yeah, look, so it's the same location where Pasha Makhalane and I first met in June. So at least there was some familiarity in terms of the venue, and so the meeting actually kicked off, and we got really into the nitty-gritty details quite quickly, to be honest. A little bit of, a little bit of chit-chat, a little bit of small talk initially, as these kind of meetings tend to go. But then, the issue really quickly turned to the problem for Ms. Malaka, which was this property and RDT contract I'd been examining. At one point, she did ask Pasha Makhalane to leave the table, interestingly. So they're clearly, and this is her words too, are issues that he's not even privy to. And I would presume this involves her border for the property that she's constructing at the moment. So he did leave the table, and then when he came back, the cash offer was made, this bundle of money that they said amounted to 60,000 Rand. I couldn't count it, but certainly looked like a lot of money. It was stacks of 200 Rand notes that was placed on the table. I unpacked it. I photographed it. It led to a little bit of an awkward moment. They were confused as to why I was doing it.
Yeah.
But it happened very quickly, and then I handed the money back to them and told them I'm not taking the money and I'm leaving the meeting.
Yeah. Lastly, Peter, there's actually, over and above the work that you are doing, investigative work, there's now a theme that has to do with the integrity of journalism in all of this. Talk to me about the implications of what this attempt was for the integrity of journalism and the ability to subvert what is one of the democratic hygiene mechanisms of our democracy.
Definitely. Look, so this is a complex issue journalistically, definitely. It's not very, par for the course to, roll out these kind of sting type operations. So obviously there is a little bit of skullduggery involved in getting all the parties to the table to make them, perform this act of alleged bribery on camera. But we certainly believe it's very much in the public interest to show how, on a very, very top level in these government institutions, how brazen the corruption still is. So I think that really is the overriding consideration here, is that we did manage to compile, the most compelling evidence of, alleged bribery that we think exists today in South Africa.
Yeah. Will you be cooperating with any investigation that may ensue, the police investigation?
That's an interesting consideration. Look, so we decided that we'll handle it when that comes to the fore. So, we are sitting with this footage, but it's also now publicly available.
Yeah.
So the law enforcement officers who do look at this would have to look at the footage and then decide on how they proceed with the matter.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you for your time this morning. Great work. That's Peter Louis Mayberg, who is an investigative journalist at Daily Maverick. I promise you have to see it to believe it. So do head on over to Daily Maverick and have a look at that story. It was published about 2 hours ago. The video is just unbelievable.
The National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
The councillor, Dambuza, of the EFF, was choked to the point of unconsciousness. I trust you're okay now, health-wise?
I'm fine, although some of the body pains now are starting to kick in, but I'm fine.
So, and I'm glad for that. Tell us what happened from your side.
We always, in the City of Cape Town Council, have a speaker that can run the council through the rules. She does not understand them, and she always needs to be given assistance to understand them.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
Remember about a week ago when the Lesotho Police Commissioner made the extraordinary claim that there were groups of Basotho men who were receiving training in military-style camps in South Africa with the intention of eventually seeking to reclaim by force land historically claimed by Lesotho as having been part of its territory. Remember how the immediate response from the South African Police Service was, we've checked everywhere, there is no there. Well, hold on to that thought. After further engagements between the Lesotho Commissioner, Advocate Buroto Matsoso, and our Commissioner General Fanima Semola, the SAPS now says there are, and I quote here, pockets of individuals that were found in some parts of our country bordering with Lesotho and inland which were concerning, end quote. What exactly does that mean? Are there or are there no Basotho military training camps in the country? Let's speak to the Deputy National Police Commissioner of Policing and co-chairperson of NAT Joints, that's Lieutenant General Tibello Musikidi. Good morning to you and thank you for your time this morning. What do we mean? What is this information now and how does it compare with your search that you undertook on farms that were implicated and suggested in that statement by the Lesotho Police Commissioner? What do you mean when you talk about pockets of individuals that are concerning?
Good morning to Thulasizwe. Good morning to the SAFM listeners. Thank you once more for the opportunity. To qualify the statement, Thulasizwe, I want to reiterate, we have searched where we were told to be the places that were concerning at the time that we received the claims from Advocate Matsoso, who is the Police Commissioner of Lesotho. We did not find any resemblance of military style training. We still did not find such. What I indicated is that there were a group of individuals that were concerning. If you find people in a group, it is a cause for concern, especially when we have had this claim. We did not take it lightly, hence we had to do a thorough interrogation and investigation in that regard. And those particular individuals were, of course, Basotho, some of them without valid documentation to be in the country. So it is a cause for concern, but that does not mean the concern is a military training.
So what makes these individuals of concern? What makes them stand, what sets them apart from ordinary irregular migration issues to be of concern in relation to this original claim that there were military-styled camps in South Africa?
It is concerning to Thulasizwe every time when you find especially people looking, because when they were intercepted, it was a group of people that were believed to be receiving whatever type of briefing they were told or they were to be briefed on what to do. That is the report that we have received. And we know that we are having problems of illegal mining. We are still very much on Operation Chanela. We are also very much busy with Operation Balloon Body. So the concern that we have was perhaps these individuals, there were two issues that came to mind at the time. It was a initiation skills season. That's number one. Number two, every time when we receive or we count on these people of illegal mining, it becomes evident from some of them that they were promised, they came for the promises of the work opportunities in the country. So that is where the concern raised that these people being trafficked. Hence, we had to do a thorough interrogation. Are they convening to go to the initiation schools in the country, or are they going to be trained for illegal mining, or to be trained for this particular training that was made? Because we said we cannot discount what is coming off these claims. We need to interrogate and investigate them without taking them lightly. Hence, we were concerned, why are they convening in that fashion?
So as the SAPS overall, in your various communications, you were wrong to give a communication that suggested that you were dismissing the claims after doing a search in the farms and the areas that had been indicated and saying that we found nothing. So the general, the advocate, the commissioner in Lesotho did not speak out of turn after all.
Thulasizwe, we have not found people in a military convergence with military type of equipment that will suggest this is a military training. We have not yet found them. Hence, we continuously saying we will continue with the investigation. We went to Lesotho so that the things that we cannot speak about on the phone, the things that we cannot speak about on written communication, that requires an in-person communication or engagement. That is the reason why we had to go to the city and meet with the counterparts in the city, with our intelligence community, so that we can get to understand what are the issues, what are the real facts. So I'm not even now saying the commissioner was not correct. I'm saying as a country, investigation capabilities, intelligence community, they have said we have not found that type of formation. We have not found that type of formation.
So how do you characterize these pockets of individuals that you say are concerning in relation to, you're saying not military-style camps? What are they?
They are illegal. They were found to be illegal and they were processed as illegal persons. But they are persons of interest. Why are they illegal in the country? Like any other person that you find illegal in the country, we do not just process it illegal and we go. We do due diligence. All the law enforcement that requires to process will process them, including to see if these individuals were in the country before they were found in the same state. And then we will then have to find what needs to happen now. Because we cannot come once and we become delinquent.
I'm out of time, Lieutenant General, but very quickly, earlier on in this conversation, you talked about they were being briefed. Who was briefing them about what needs to be done?
They were found in a group, in what appears. If you don't put the word in my mouth, in what appears to be receiving a briefing. Because if you are consuming in a group, it means it's either you are talking or somebody talking to you.
Yes.
And when law enforcement comes, you know that people will start to make movements.
But do we know who appeared to be briefing them? In what appears, to use your words, do we know who appeared to be briefing these groups?
With the claims that we received, that there are people that are recruiting. Because part of what we receive from our counterparts is that there are people that are busy with the recruitment. Then we need to profile each and every individual that is there to see if these ones that we were given as the recruiters or the people that are of interest in the city, are they the same persons that are found with this group.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. That's Lieutenant General Tibelo Mosekedi, who is Deputy National Commissioner for Policing in the SAPS and also co-chair of NetJoints. A bit late for everything. Zai, I'll come back to you in a moment. Let's go straight to N. Musa with news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, 10 Ekurhuleni police officers accused of theft are expected to continue with their bail applications at the Germiston Magistrates Court east of Johannesburg this morning. Their bid to be released on bail pending investigations began yesterday during their first court appearance. South Africa's raised concerns with Eswatini over the arrival of a group of high-risk criminals deported from the United States. The individuals are from various countries and some of them have been convicted of child rape, murder and robbery. And the Trump administration has announced it's halting $500 million worth of vaccine development projects aiming to produce antidotes for respiratory viruses like flu and COVID-19. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Heading on your way to the airport this morning, leaving Pretoria, there's a double whammy. Roadworks by Pomona Road, double lane closure, that's slow, and then you're into a crash delay straight after the roadworks. The collision down by Tracker Road just before the R24 split, so very heavy from Tembisa Airport bound this morning. The Mike 1, a crash before Grayston Drive, that is heavy, no gaps in the traffic from Boyson's all the way through towards the Santon area. Pretoria side, there is the collision on Eupheus Road near the N14. If you're coming around from Pretoria West from the industrial side, that section of Eupheus quite heavily backed up. Durban, just a reminder, the M4 between La Mercy and Westbrook is all open after very early morning protest this morning. It was cleared pretty quickly and the road reopened to traffic. Cape Town's just been a prang on the N7 south at Plattekloof Road. That is backing traffic up to Dunoon, backlogging from Malabongwe Drive as you head south into that scene. The collision of the very busy sort of public transport interchange around Belleville, so expect extra pressure. It's Robert Sebukwe and Bellrail, traffic under all sorts of pressure. And the R300's a bit of a standout this morning. You will sit from Delft all the way through to the Funeripic Road off-ramp at Kales River. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Sorry.
Yes.
I truly apologize.
All right.
I got distracted when you brought treats and stuff, you know?
Bribery and corruption.
Tell me about Steve. Tell me about you're bribing me with a donut.
Imagine.
Tell me about Steve Barker and dreaming big, but facing the reality that there's Amakosi to battle with.
Oh, yeah. He's going to have to stop barking at some point because he wants to run with the big dogs, is Stellenbosch FC coach. Now, he does know that he's got a big match with the Amakosi. That's on Sunday. And he says he understands their mind games, especially him being a former AmaZulu coach. He says he's seen enough of them in pre-season to know what they're planning.
No, it's not awkward. It's probably of all the teams, I would rather play them because I've seen a lot of them in the preseason. You know, if I had to play against Durban City or maybe Siwelele, you're not knowing what to expect. So at least with Chiefs, I know what they are trying to do and pretty much what type of team they'll set out. So no, not awkward, exciting.
Let's go to the former Porto captain. Jorge Costa has died aged 53 after having cardiac arrest at the club's training centre. The defender led the Portuguese club to Champions League glory under manager Jose Mourinho in 2004 and won 50 caps for Portugal. Tennis action, Naomi Osaka powering into her first National Bank Open semi-final, beating the number 10 seed Elina Svitolina. Osaka advanced to face Clara Tauson, who eliminated Madison Keys. Now, the Canadian teenager Victoria Mboko is taking on the 9th seed Elena Rybakina of Kazakhstan in the other semi-final today. Here's Mboko.
Of course, I played her in Washington as well, so I'm not expecting an easy match whatsoever, and I played her, so I know what to expect. And no, I think I just need to maybe up my level a little bit and just to stay in there with her. You know, she has really great ground strokes, really great serve. So I guess on that day, I want to do my best to kind of stay in there with her.
And finally, netball, the baby Proteas goal shooter Mbali Dipoko says she's looking forward to achieving a personal milestone by playing in the World Cup for the first time. This is after she made the final 15-player under-21 national team squad for the upcoming Netball Youth World Cup in Gibraltar next month.
The World Cup is a huge milestone for us, and I'm both excited and nervous. I'm thinking about the competition, our opponents, and how we can work together as a team to achieve our goals. I'm looking forward to the experience, learning from other players and showcasing our skills. I mean, we are facing a tough competition in Pool D, including Barbados, Malawi, Fiji, and Trinidad and Tobago, but I'm confident in our team's abilities.
And that's where we're back. We'll bounce back. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. The JSE is not only a bourse on which many companies are listed, it's also a company on its own. Tell me about its performance and what's driving it.
So the JSE's performance in the first half was quite strong and was driven by robust equity market activity. I mean, for the past 6 months, we've been talking about how resilient the JSE has been, and now we're starting to see those returns filtering through to the company as a whole. This resulted in a 13.4% jump in earnings, with group revenue growing 11.8%. Now, the group's diversified revenue base and solid performance from its capital markets, post-trade and information services segments contributed to the growth. CEO Leila Fourie attributed the success to elevated equity market activity, stating that the JSE established businesses demonstrated strength and improved earnings quality. Now, the firm has been investing heavily to improve non-trading units which continue to boost it as well. It's also pursuing acquisitions in IT to boost its non-trading revenue, which accounts for more than a third of total income. Now, looking ahead, the JSE says it is optimistic about its prospects, looking to deliver stronger earnings in the second half of its financial year. Fourie further reaffirmed that the group continues to explore its options when it comes to 24-hour trading on the local bourse.
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation, and it's been amplifying over the last few weeks. In telecoms, tell me about BCX. You're saying that it continues to weigh on telecom. How so?
The group's IT services unit, BCX, continues to lag. It reported an 8.3% decline in revenue, and this led to a 9% decrease in Telkom's share price in yesterday's session, showing that investors not really pleased with the firm's update. But looking at Telkom's overall performance, it actually fared well during the first quarter, with its top line up 1%, while earnings grew over 6%. Now, this was largely due to Telkom's focus on mobile data and fiber-based services, which yielded positive results. Revenue from those divisions grew 9.6% and 11.3% respectively. The company's data-led strategy appears to be paying off, with data revenue accounting for nearly 60% of Telkom's revenue by the end of June. Now, the group's CEO, Serame Taukobong, expressed confidence in the company's momentum, stating they are on track to achieve mid-single-digit growth in the medium term. The company has been focusing on growing revenue contributions from mobile data and its fiber-based services, while disposing of non-core assets. This, however, as mentioned, not enough to convince investors that share price tumbling at the close.
Yeah, please recap for us then how the markets are looking at this hour.
Starting in Asia, those fresh tariff threats on the semiconductor industry on investors' radars. And as they assess that, stocks are mixed. The likes of TSMC and SK Hynix taking a knockdown over 2%. So some nervousness coming through there as we see those semiconductor counters in Asia under pressure. Meanwhile, in Wall Street, futures in positive territory, staging somewhat of a recovery after yesterday's close. And then coming back home, stocks closed mostly in the green, with the all share gaining 0.36%. Some positive momentum playing out in both the currency and commodities scene, with the rand stronger at 17.87 to the greenback, while oil gains 0.65% at $66.90 per barrel.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ndauling Lechela. She'll be back with one more update for you, in which update she will then give you a sense of the kind of trading day you can expect in the markets today.
After a 2-0 loss against Morocco in the Chan opener, the Angolans are digging deep for their first victory. However, the hosts, Harambee Stars, are chasing their second consecutive win in their own backyard. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Be part of the action. Angola versus Kenya, this Thursday, 7 August at 6 p.m. Live everywhere, for everyone, always on SABC+. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
I work at Optimi College. We offer distance learning solutions.
How is it that OUTsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible.
Yeah.
You're helping people to do better, and OUTsurance is doing better for you.
Definitely. If OUTsurance will not be able to beat your current premiums, remember there's that 500 Rand that you could get.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
Tell me, what brings you and OUTsurance together?
You know, Jacques, I've been battling to get a nice car insurance, man. Someone that can give you nice service. Whenever you call them, they're there for you. You know, OUTsurance, I found them. I'm saving a cool $360.
Why put yourself through the pain? Be like Jermaine.
Yes, be like Jermaine and sign up with OUTsurance.
Get the real deal with the real savings.
Yes, there we go. I made the right move.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Nominees will be announced in August. Let us celebrate #Isn'tJustAGame. Catch the 18th annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday, 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, so quite a number of conversations on the go, and I'm loving the full buffet, really, of the conversation on your WhatsApp messages. But let me start with the calls. Let me start with a call from Janusz in Cape Town. Good morning to you, Janusz.
Good morning, Thulas. Thulas, I don't know that your increase of the salary is more than 8-7%, usually like on this level. But you know, when you go to the petrol, not petrol, diesel is going up. Rate going up, electricity going up. You go to the shop. I don't know. You do the shopping. Your wife do the shopping. It's shocking.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely shocking, Janusz.
It's shocking. And we're going to talk about politics, corruption. Yes, we have to talk about it. What about these prices? Who's going to control? Do we need another commission? This politician, whatever mayor of the Cape Town, his salary is 133,000. He can afford it. And many others can afford it. We cannot afford it. We have to do something about it.
We've really reached an affordability crisis, and I think I've been hearing acknowledgement at the very least around the electricity prices, for example, from government. But acknowledgement, is that enough? You know, cushioning, that's the question.
Yes. How we can control this price in the shops? Is there any commission? Because it's ridiculous. They're going to go up. Diesel go up. They're going to increase the diesel go down. They never going down. So something had to be done on the top level.
Yeah. No. Thank you for that, Janusz in Cape Town. We don't really do price controls in this country, but what we do is control inflation through the mechanisms of the Reserve Bank and you know, that inflation targeting. Then the rest becomes issues of competition, the Competition Commission watching for such practices as price gouging and other practices that make goods and services unaffordable. But out and out price control we don't really do, unless I'm mistaken and someone can set me straight. Lazarus in the Free State, good morning to you.
Good morning, my brother. How are you doing?
Very well. How are you?
Very well. Thank you for taking my call. No, Peter Mayback is my hero.
Yeah.
I just want to be honest with you. Why I'm saying this to us. I said this before and I'm saying it again. We have people in government who are very greedy. They're earning salaries. There are people who are struggling out there. They don't care about them. All they care is about them. It's more of a self-enrichment. They're them making money. Whether people are starving or what, it's none of their business. You see this thing of saying we are developing this document, that document. People are starving. Like just yesterday, the deputy president was in Mangaung. I think Merlin always calls about that. What does he do there? To go and clean. People are starving. I mean, really, you're talking about cleaning when people are starving. So that's why I'm going to leave it for now.
Thank you for that.
That's my point.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lazarus. Did you see the video? Have you seen it? Okay, Lazarus is gone. But yeah, you should see the video. It is quite shocking. Of course, we will be reaching out to the individuals that are named in there. But I mean, the explanation would really need to be serious. What is the context in which you can possibly be caught on video with a stack of money being slid across the table by your hand on video, unless you're telling me the video that whole scene did not happen. I don't know. It will take some convincing. I don't know. We'll reach out to them in fairness to hear their side of the story and hear what their argument will be about that expose from Daily Maverick. Churchill in the Eastern Cape. Good morning.
Good morning, Tulas.
Good morning.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You know, today I just want to talk about law enforcement, you know, and how we're treated unequally in terms of the law.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to ask Tulas, let's look at the rate of conviction of politicians, the percentage in this country. And this all trickles down and it goes to entitlement. I'm driving now. I'm looking at the bosses of the roads who feel that they cannot queue the taxis. There's no law enforcement.
Yeah.
They're entitled. They cannot queue. They block everybody else. They force their way because this is exactly what is happening in this country.
Yeah.
It's really sad.
Yeah, I agree with you. The levels of lawlessness that have been allowed to carry on in various areas of our society are truly astounding. Makes you wonder if we're the only ones who see that.
Yeah, you just lose hope, honestly.
Yeah.
And you ask yourself, where are we going as this country?
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right, thank you for that, Churchill. That's Churchill in the Eastern Cape, and I completely agree with him that you observe it, pockets of lawlessness that become, I don't know, a wave of lawlessness, ripples that become a wave. Let me put it that way, a better, metaphor. Ripples of lawlessness that become a wave and may become a tsunami of lawlessness in this country. You see it in pockets, and you just wonder, does anyone else see this? Driving against oncoming traffic, driving past red traffic lights as if they're not even there, as if it's a highway. And it's not just taxi drivers. Don't mistake this as being, just leveled at taxi drivers. You see it with many, many other motorists as well. And it becomes almost normalized. There's an intersection just outside of the SABC here. In fact, I meant to call the JMPD and say, can you do something? Because people just speed past non-functioning traffic lights as if it's a green for them. The rules have been tossed to the side. These are the pockets and the ripples of lawlessness that Churchill was talking about. Therefore, in Welcome, good morning.
Good morning, Tulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you? You're not the advocate, are you?
No.
Just kidding.
Not by any stretch. Tulas, I just want to say heads off to Peter, is it Liebenbeck?
Peter Louis Mayberg.
Louis Mayberg, from the Daily Maverick. I think he's done a marvelous job. The only question that comes to mind after all what he said is, how many Peters do we have out there?
Yep.
And it goes to say there is possibly those guys that are doing something opposite than what Peter has done. And we really need the Peters of this world to get to the bottom of
100%.
The corruption that this country is, and I'm saying this country with real honesty and decency, is riddled with corruption. One wonders what is it out there that can stop the corrupt activities. But I want to, just on a party show, to say, can we also look at the corruption within the private sector?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Can we really get
Spot
down to
on.
for years there has been corruption and corrupt activities in the private sector. I'm really hoping
equal
that
scrutiny.
at some years we need to unpack and unfold and put everything to the bear so that we can put it really out there for public scrutiny.
100%.
But well done for the show. And have a wonderful
You too.
day.
Thank you for that, therefore, in Welcome, making that point absolutely crucial, because occasionally you see stories of corporate corruption being reported almost as if it's just corporate intrigue that sort of distant and a bit removed from all of us. Oh, watch them, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're fighting amongst themselves, but actually centering it and characterizing it as corruption is just equally important. Ramokhadi in Limpopo, good morning.
Oh, Chief, I'm not in Limpopo. Sorry, I'm in Mpumalanga.
Did I relocate you?
Yeah, no, you did. Okay, to us, just a bit of.
Sure.
I think I'm about to assume that SABC is becoming something else.
Mm-hmm.
I've mentioned it several times to say, it seems to me it works like a kidney. It separates what it wants, and then it consumes what the body wants. In this case, the guy who came now as a victor, a clean person who go deep into investigating, they've concentrated on black people. They have concentrated on black people, and then you also, guys, SABC, are perpetuating it to the point that if there is a white guy, there is this white guy who ran with corruption and then claimed to be dead, and no one ran after that story.
Which guy? Which guy who claimed to be dead? Marcus Joste.
Yes.
You don't believe he's dead?
Yeah. There was no funeral that was published. There was no story behind it. There is a question about guys from Limpopo who are owning 1,000 of hectares. They're from this country. Is a king somewhere. Arabic state. We don't see you guys running after the story, digging out the way you are digging it. But when it attacks a black person, it's becoming a big story. We are not. I'm not saying corruption must be promoted, but you need to be fair in attacking issues.
All right, thank you for that. That's Ramokhadi in Mpumalanga. Thank you for that. I don't have much time to engage you. I do need to take the traffic, Ramokhadi, but thank you for raising that, and hopefully someone else will come in and various perspectives will be brought in on the point that you are raising about consistency.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Stays heavy on the run into the airport this morning, coming out of Pretoria on your way to OR Tambo. Roadworks at Pomona Road, a crash down before the R24. It's a heavy backlog, a very heavy backlog. Trucks and vehicles stuck in a queue that extends right back to the Bupsfontein R25 exit. The Mike 1 still pretty heavily backed as well between Boysons and Sandton this morning. It's a crash just before Grayston Drive that is causing that backlog. The N14, the Krugersdorp Highway, again queuing up towards the Brockfontein interchange. The N1 South is quite heavy today. Storenville Road down to Linwood Road, and then sort of Gaasfontein down to Boerta Avenue. A lot of traffic coming out of Pretoria along that Route 1 today. Durban, the N2 North staying heavy between the between the M7 and Westwood Mall. That just going up to the roadworks is heavy. There's also a breakdown on the southbound side as well, just after Umgena Road, so coming through from Inanda Road. That is quite heavy. Cape Town, a massive backlog on the N7 to work through from Dunoon down towards Plattercliff Road. That is a crash, N7 South, before you get to Plattercliff Road. There's also heavy traffic out of Tableview, Marine Drive to Racecourse Road, and if you're the other side, Bloberg Road down to Kuberg Road, out to Plattercliff Road. Multiple traffic light failures this morning. And the other big standout that you'll need to know about is the R300. It's a route under pressure today from Delft all the way up towards the N1 highway. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
5 minutes to 8. Public sector unions are pressuring the government employees medical scheme, GEMS, to cap its 2026 contribution increase to single digits, following a contentious 13.4% hike this year. As the largest medical aid scheme for public servants, covering nearly 2.42 million people, GEMS now faces intense scrutiny over balancing member affordability with financial sustainability amid rising claims and a falling solvency ratio. Let's make sense of all of that. I'm joined by Claude Naker from Public Servants Association, Acting Deputy General Manager. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So I remember when this was being introduced, this 13.4% hike, the GEMS were justifying it and saying that it's in line with industry and it had to do with the sustainability of the scheme. What's behind the calls for in any increases in 2026 to be kept to below, single digits as opposed to double digits?
A very good morning to you. Thank you for having me. Yes, Thulas, I think the previous year, the increase was at 9%, and we made a whole lot of noise as to the amount of increase. And last year, the increase was 13%. I think when we signed this agreement with government that they would introduce GEMS to all public servants, one of the defining factors was it should be quality, but most importantly, affordable health care itself. Now, you'll recall a couple of years back when COVID entered, a number of medical aids, and we did an analysis of most of the medical aids, you would find that most public servants or citizens of the country steered away from health facilities simply because they didn't want to obviously contract the COVID disease. During that period, 99% of the medical schemes obviously did not spend a lot of money simply because people did not visit health institutions. During that period, GEMS and other medical societies or medical aids basically did not pay out exorbitant claims, or they did not pay out any claims whatsoever. They was, to a certain extent, very marginal. So taking that into account, we've said to GEMS, you could have obviously accumulated enough reserves to actually sort of absorb any increase in the subsequent years. But to our astonishment, immediately after COVID, the increase was in the region of 2%. The following year, it was 3%, and suddenly it spiked to 9% and 13%.
Yeah.
You must also remember that we were battling with public or the government for an affordable increase for public servants. And at that stage, we barely got an inflation-linked salary increase. And last year, it was 5.5%. If you take the increase that was afforded to public servants and the increase by GEMS, straight away you'll see that any increase that was afforded to public servants was actually wiped out.
Ultimately, it comes down to disposable income after all of these deductions, including medical aid. What have you observed in the last 2 years of these big increases by way of membership, by way of, benefit and scheme buy-downs by some of the members?
Absolutely. We've noticed that there is a decline in the take-up of, firstly, new entrants to get onto GEMS. Secondly, those that were on the scheme decided to resign and opt for lower options at other schemes itself. So this is a problem. The contributing factor here is that all the public servants are entitled to join any medical scheme. One of the things is that government offers the highest subsidy to those that want to join GEMS. So basically what happens, there is a monopoly by GEMS, but ultimately because of the highest subsidy, public servants tend to join GEMS. But because of the highest subsidy, despite the highest subsidy, we're finding a lot of our members are actually opting out of GEMS, wanting to look for cheaper schemes or cheaper options at other schemes. We did an analysis of other medical schemes and we looked at option for option, and we found that their options are much more lucrative.
Yeah.
But we've engaged GEMS.
Yeah.
We've engaged.
So sorry, Claude. So you're saying in some instances members resign and then when they are re-employed, they take up a different scheme. Does it boil down to even those kind of maneuvers?
Well, unfortunately, the agreement doesn't allow you to rejoin GEMS. Once you've resigned, you've resigned. However, what they do is that they join open schemes as opposed to GEMS. And this is quite alarming because the entire concept of the idea for the introduction of GEMS, that we have more members on GEMS, that government would obviously keep the subscriptions as low as possible as such.
All right. Let's thank you for this conversation this morning. Thank you for that. That's Claude Naker, Public Servants Association, PSA, Acting Deputy General Manager. Let's go straight to N. Musa with the latest news.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Time to switch and save. Call 08600 60,000 today.
In our top stories, police officers charged with theft to continue their bail application, and Trump administration pulls funding for some COVID-19 and flu vaccines. Good morning. 10 Ekurhuleni police officers accused of theft are expected to continue with their bail applications at the Germiston Magistrates Court east of Johannesburg this morning. Their bid to be released on bail pending investigations began yesterday during their first court appearance. It's alleged they raided a shop in Edenvale in June and allegedly stole cigarettes worth 150,000 rand, 35,000 rand in cash as well as boxes of Panado. Paul Magubane reports.
A raid on a shop in Edenville led to the shop owner complaining that over 180,000 rand in cigarette stock and cash was not declared or booked in by the police officers involved. CCTV footage from the shop led to the arrest of the officers, comprising of members of the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department and Tsakani SAPS. After viewing evidence, the NPA did not add the corruption charge, and the accused are currently facing a theft charge. In the bid to be released on bail, the officers have vowed to abide by bail conditions and not interfere with potential witnesses.
KwaZulu-Natal Premier Tamin Ntuli says government is committed to fight crime in the province. Ntuli was speaking during the handover of 4 mobile police stations, which will be strategically placed in communities. The areas include Inanda, which has the highest number of rape cases in the country. Ntuli says the mobile police stations will enhance police visibility.
The prioritized areas are the areas that have already complained that the police stations are far. And number 2 are the areas of hotspots wherein we're experiencing high number of crime stats. And I'm hopeful that this is going to be really helpful. It's a meaningful contribution and a practical contribution by the government of KwaZulu-Natal.
Meanwhile, responding to the issue of police understaffing, the Provincial Deputy Commissioner Phumelela Makuba said district commissioners will be tasked with ensuring mobile stations are adequately staffed.
These mobile CSCs are going to certain stations that the Premier has announced, and they are falling within certain districts. And the district commissioners will make it a point that they make human resources available for these mobile CSCs to function. That basically means the district commissioners has a prerogative and has a control of all human resources within the district. So if it means taking members from one station to another station in order to ensure that the communities receive services.
South Africa has raised concerns with Eswatini over the arrival of a group of high-risk criminals deported from the United States. The individuals are from various countries and some of them have been convicted of child rape, murder and robbery, according to the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Eswatini and the US intend to work with the International Organization for Migration to return the inmates to their home countries. Derko notes, however, that it's unlikely they will be accepted. Spokesperson for the minister, Crispin Piri.
Whilst respecting the sovereign decision of the government of Eswatini, the government of the Republic of South Africa is deeply concerned about the profile of these individuals and the potential adverse impact on South Africa's national security and immigration policy, given the geographical proximity between the two sisterly countries.
And finally, the Trump administration has announced it's halting $500 million worth of vaccine development projects aiming to produce antidotes for respiratory viruses like flu and COVID-19. The projects were being led by some of the world's leading pharmaceutical companies, including Pfizer. The U.S. Health Secretary, Robert Kennedy, says 22 vaccine projects will be halted. The BBC's David Willis has the details.
In a statement, Robert F. Kennedy said that having reviewed the science, his department had concluded that mRNA-based vaccines failed to protect against infections such as COVID and the flu. Nearly $500 million in federal funding that had been set aside for their development will now be used to develop what the Health Secretary called safer vaccine platforms. The rapid deployment of mRNA vaccines, spurred by President Trump, was widely credited with slowing the spread of the COVID pandemic and earned the technology's pioneers the Nobel Prize in Medicine.
Earlier, the US president announced levies on imported medicines could rise as high as 250%, saying he wants pharmaceuticals to be made in the United States. Recapping the top story, 10 Ekurhuleni police officers accused of theft are expected to continue with their bail applications at the Germiston Magistrates Court east of Johannesburg this morning. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. Visit outsurance.co.za today. You always get something out.
Outsurance will do all they can to save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand cash. But wait, there's more. If you don't save and you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years, you can ask them for 1,500 Rand cash. Savings or cash, you always get something out. Call 0800 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports headlines, let's look at soccer. Mamelodi Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso says his side won't be lulled into complacency as they kick off their Betway Premiership title defence this weekend. And we'll bring you the latest on Victoria Mboko making waves at the National Bank Open. Details just before 8:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Traffic coming out of Pretoria along Route 1. It's a busy Wednesday. Queues from Storenville down towards Linwood Road and then from Atterbury all the way down to Buerta Avenue. Old Joburg Road down to Olifantsfontein is your third queue that you'll work through. A couple of crashes taking forever to clear. One on the Mike 1 North at Greyston Drive. Very heavy coming up from Boysons. Today also a crash on the R21 just before you get to the R24 split. That's very slow from Tembisa if you're airport bound. Make sure you've got a ton of time to get through that. There's also been a crash on Houghton Drive before the Mike 1, so that run up through Parktown coming up from sort of Hillbrow, very slow indeed. Durban, a breakdown on the N2 South before Spaghetti Junction, so queues back to Inanda Road. N2 North stays heavy as you backlog through towards the Westwood Mall, the back of the queue of the M7, and there's some delays on the Southern Freeway, queuing up through the Umbilo area into town. Cape Town, R300, jam-packed this morning between Delft and the N1 Highway. It is starting to ease, but it's much busier than you might be expecting, and a crash scene on the N7 South before Platterkloof Road, holding traffic from Malabongwe Drive. Worth noting the exits out of Tableview, very busy, Bloberg to Coburg, and the Marine Drive coming off the West Coast Road, still heavy to Milnerton. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
It's just gone 9 minutes after 8 on this Wednesday. It is great to be in your company. I hope you're having an easy morning and things are going your way this morning as you prepare to face the day. This is the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107. Let me quickly reflect on some of the messages that have come through. In the next few minutes, I'll be in conversation with Kgalalelo Masibi, who is Chief Director for Communications in the Department of Justice. We'll be reflecting about that move of the special tribunal from Boysons to Pretoria and just how it's all being undertaken and trying to understand the rationale. If you were listening, we were talking to Mbegezeli Benjamin about an hour or so ago, just before 7, if I recall correctly. So we'll get the second take, almost a right of reply to the department in just a moment. But let me read one or two of the messages that you've sent me. Someone here says, talking about the borders and that whole issue that was raised about Lesotho. Someone says, if politics of the country does not seek to recreate South African borders to include those people who were put aside by colonial borders, in future South Africa might be reduced in size by the same people that live in South Africa from so-called neighboring countries. This person then goes on to say, Lesotho and Eswatini should be part of South Africa because Lesotho can never be a sovereign state given its geographical location, and more than 90% of Eswatini border is South Africa. Before you know it, Lesotho and Eswatini will be armed, not necessarily to claim land, but with intention to destroy its economy, and signs are out there. Be vigilant and act wisely, says this person. This all has to do, of course, with the investigation that the SAPS are now undertaking around claims that there are people, individuals of concern, is what the Deputy National Police Commissioner Musikidi is calling them. Individuals of concern that they are looking into in relation to that claim from Lesotho. Then Bongani in Mamelodi says, Sawubona Thulasizwe, I just watched the IDT CEO bribery attempt video. The only thing surprising to me is that she really believed she would bribe a Daily Maverick journal. She just dug her hole even deeper. More eyes on her now, contrary to what she wanted to achieve, says Bongani in Mamelodi. It's an extraordinary video. When you come around to seeing it, do share your thoughts about it. Just the whole brazenness of sliding across a bag full of cash. And Peter Louis Mayberg picks up his phone and he takes pictures, and alarm bells are not going off to say, "Hi, Bo, Puti, what's happening now?" Shoo. All right, let me read this one now. Someone says they want us to find out from the Zimbabwean consulate why passport renewals are charged in dollars. Zimbabweans fortunate enough to have jobs in South Africa earn rand. How can a person be expected to spend 1 month's salary on renewing their passport? Asked this person, who then goes on to say, it is heartbreaking that the Premier of Gauteng chooses not to address the critical issue of children in his province going to bed hungry at night. So 2 issues that are raised by that person there. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 061 410 4107. Let's get into the third hour of the morning brief on this Wednesday.
Spar brings you super savings. Get 2 litre Spar Extra Shelf Life Milk, full cream or low fat for $31.99, plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile, or 200 gram Jacob's Cronon coffee jar or 230 gram refill for $144.99, plus 300 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Plus, you could win your share of 6 million rand in instant cash. Prices valid until 24 August 2025, while stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Have you discovered the TV license WhatsApp yet? We see you binging reruns, living for the drama, loving the SABC Plus sports replays. Now paying your TV license fits the vibe. Simply say hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060. Get your balance, make a payment, or set up a debit order all in one chat. No queues, no please hold, just convenience that feels like it should have been here all along. Because every screen in South Africa is a stage and yours is lit. So why wait? Send hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060 and get your TV license sorted today. Hashtag your screen, your story.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let's take some of your calls now. I do want to take a few of the WhatsApp voice notes because we've really not done justice to them this morning. So let me take 3 without engaging or interacting with them.
Good morning, SAFM listeners. The Gauteng online application for school placement have reached about 600,000 applicants in just 2 weeks. I hope the government from Gauteng is closely monitoring the situation and they have proper plans to implement in January, because we foresee that there might be challenges, common challenges that we usually face in January. I hope this time around they are closely monitoring the situation and they have proper plans. Sewanele Pretoria.
Hi, Thulasizwe. It's Joseph here from Randburg. There was this caller yesterday who was saying Sipho Mantula must come and talk about politics here because he is not a politician. We are saying hands off. Sipho Mantula has been talking about politics for as long as I care to remember. So he must talk about any politics, especially in African diaspora. Thank you.
Thulas, I wish you call someone to come and explain to us why State Department do not honor court orders. I'm the victim of that. I haven't been paid till today by Department of Education in KZN. Yet we expect these people to be the custodian of the South African law.
Yep. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for raising all of those issues. The now Deputy Chief Justice Dunstan Mlambo actually in one judgment put it so nicely that if a government doesn't honor the court orders, the edifice of our democracy will crumble brick by brick until there's nothing left. I paraphrase, of course, but something like that, something to that effect. That's why sometimes you see those enforcement orders when you hear that there's going to be attachment of property in some office or another, some municipality or some department or another, and then it's a last-minute scramble to try and avoid that situation. David in Pietermaritzburg, good morning to you. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Lesotho. No, I also share the same sentiment echoed by your previous callers regarding the conviction that we see when the stories of corruption involve black people. I'll cite just a few examples. You know the story that involves the former CEO of Eskom, Opelholzer.
Yes.
He recently resigned from Eskom, and I think now is the chairperson of some company that has been awarded a lucrative contract, which to me, it's like he threw a javelin. You know, there's no cooling off period. And you don't see much coverage about that matter. It's a lot of billions that has been awarded to that company. Two, the story of a councillor, maybe you don't even know about it, councillor in Cape Town, one of the municipalities that are run by the DA. Apparently his son is an insurance broker. He invested the municipality's money in that, I don't know whether it's Old Mufwale or whatever company, without the mandate of the council. You know? And there's no coverage about that. The one of the Hulet gang, you know, the white people, I think it was the CEO and the CFO. Yes, they nearly, Hulet was nearly liquidated about the corruption that happened there. But you don't see much coverage. You know, if these cases were black people, daily when they appear in court, we'll be seeing that coverage to say the case is now in this stage. You know, there are a lot of cases that one can mention. The one of the chief of staff who was employed in Tshwane, who lied about the qualifications. I don't even know her name. Because it's not covered. But if it's a black person, you would know the name, the background, and everything. You know. So if Mita Lokuzana like Daily Maverick can also ensure that they cover such stories if they involve white people.
Gotcha. David, thank you for that. I would have loved to engage you, but I do need to take other people who hopefully will be able to put another perspective as well to what you've said. And one of them is Sianda in Utenake. Good morning to you, Sianda, also on the same issue.
Morning, Tula.
Good morning.
I hear what the previous speaker is saying. I partly agree with him, but I want to take a different talk.
Sure.
People must be taught and understand how the media works. No journalist will just wake up one day and decide to investigate to the end without any cause. Any person, any journalist that investigates, there has to be someone who might have leaked information and whispered something that look into this and that and that and that. So that the journalist can then make a follow-up on that. No one just wakes up and decides, I'm going to investigate Utulas. Where do I begin? And some of these stories would be coming from people who are in the pockets of the politicians. Politicians work against each other, that we know. If I am against you as a politician and we are fighting in the very same space, I would dig up some dirt in you and leak information into the media. That must be followed up. So one of the things that people must understand, it is how this space is operated. And people, I think, they should also look into that. Just one point, Tulas, before I let you go. Yesterday, the guy who was complaining also about Raz with the MK.
Yes.
One thing that we must say, whether the MK registered its party at the IEC, it is a known fact that they stole the name AK Party from the ANC.
Yeah.
That is going to be said, whether they like it or not. Yesterday, Raz was talking in connection with the CIA informing Mandela's whereabouts.
Yes.
Yes, it was talking about that. And that you cannot then separate Mandela from the MK and the African National Congress.
History
we are going
is history,
to say that.
Yeah.
Exactly, we're going to say that. Whether they registered the name and IEC accepted it, they stole. That is a fact.
All right. Sianda,
Thank you
for that. That's Sianda in. Sorry, I don't know why. I pressed the wrong button and I took myself off air for a moment. Sianda, thank you for that. Interesting views on the media. And I partially concur with what Sianda is saying, that part of the reason you're seeing a lot of focus on the public sector is because, obviously it is important. It's public monies, public trust and the likes, monies and resources which simply don't have. But also what Sianda was saying about the leaks, because politics also comes into it. And sometimes the tip-offs, it's ripe, the environment is ripe. But I do believe that those who say that in framing the media could do better in framing stories about private sector corruption, I do believe that they do have a point. The naming of people in the private sector when they are accused of corruption, calling it corruption and fraud when it is fraud. That whole debacle that we had with Steinhoff, where it was what was it called? Accounting irregularities, and just coming around to calling it what it is and naming the people as well when they are involved. I do think that those who say that actually do have a point, and I believe my colleagues in the media space have been reflecting on that. It just needs to show better that, it's not reserved for certain people, that they are cast in that way and everyone else is, tread softly around these issues.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Chasing the Sun is a 5-part South African sport documentary series. An inspiring story of the 4-time World Rugby champions, the Springboks. The journey of winning the Rugby World Cup, a behind-the-scenes look of how the green and gold team overcame adversity, divisions, and doubt to become world champs. Be there when history shines. Tune into SABC2 on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. from 13 July to 10 August. Also available anytime, anywhere on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
When you're uploading massive files, does it really matter what your internet's download speed is? With business class internet, you get a connection that's as fast going up as it is down. Your company deserves business class internet, because just reboot the router isn't a business strategy. Find reliability at vodacombusiness.co.za. Together, let's build the extraordinary. Further together. Vodacom Business.
Bafana are confident they can defeat the West Africans. Meanwhile, the National Elephants want to step their foot down and walk away with victory. This is the Total Energies African Nations Championship 2024. Be part of the thrilling action. South Africa clashes with Guinea on Monday, 11 August at 4 p.m. Live at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
This is Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief.
Let's return to that story that we touched on a bit earlier on. And again, credit to the initial reporting of Ground Up on that story. A decision to relocate the special tribunal from its base at the Boisans Magistrates Court in the south of Joburg to Pretoria has triggered a fair amount of controversy, not least for the fact that its current president, the tribunal's current president, Judge Margaret Victor, was reportedly not consulted enough about the move, which was initiated before her tenure started, even though it was ultimately gazetted in her name. But there have also been questions about the prudence of moving to a privately owned building, as well as the potential impact on the tribunal's efficiency in expediting civil cases brought by the Special Investigating Unit. So let's get you a response from Kgalalelo Masibi, the Chief Director for Communications at the Department of Justice. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Just overall, what's the rationale for moving the Special Tribunal, its administrative operations from Boysens Magistrates Court, where we are told that availability for hearings was never really an issue, and moving it to Pretoria, where it might become an issue?
Morning to us, and thanks for the opportunity. When the Special Tribunal was set up in 2019, there were various places that were looked at, and at the time, Pretoria North Magistrate Court and the Palm Court were identified as courts to consider. Then, the then Special Tribunal President and members settled for Boysens Court. Although the issue of space was raised at the time because only 2 chambers were allocated to the Special Tribunal. And at the time, the Boysens Court was not operating as a full-service court, and now it has become a full-service court, and office space became a challenge for the Special Tribunal. The Special Tribunal currently at Boysens has an approved staff complement of 10 administrative personnel to support it, and with the appointment of more magistrates and personnel at the court, space really became a challenge. Today, the office that was used for registry clerks was taken away to accommodate the small claims court services. And the same concern was raised by the previous Special Tribunal President. And then the sourcing of office space actually commenced during that period. And the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure had registered the request until they were notified of the available space at the Magistrates Commission wing.
So why in all of this then was the new judge president, the new president of the Special Tribunal, Judge Margaret Victor, not consulted enough, even though the gazette that announces that the Special Tribunal is relocating came out in her name? Surely that was not supposed to happen?
Yes. Judge Margaret Victor has actually informed the department that she was misquoted in the article. She has confirmed that she was never against the move to Pretoria. She was consulted and she even had the opportunity to come and view the new office space. And the move would have never really been done without her approval. So I'd also like to state for the record that she has confirmed that she was misquoted.
And the building in Pretoria, you can confirm that it's a privately owned building in which government, the DOJ, is leasing space. How does that stack up against what was a private building, a public building in the form of the Boysens Magistrates Court?
I think I have already indicated that space became an issue at Boysens. That is the main reason for the move to Pretoria. And even though the new building is leased, it will be at no additional cost for the department, as the Special Tribunal will be moving to a wing on the Magistrates Commission floor that was vacated by the Office of the Family Advocate. This wing is part of the current lease, and it has more than 15 suitable offices for use by the Special Tribunal.
What's the plan, Kgalalelo, as a parting shot for ensuring that availability of space, courtroom space for hearings is enhanced now that this move has happened? Because the whole idea of the Special Tribunal was to enable the SIU to swiftly get a hearing and ensure that it can preserve assets that are proceeds of corruption and actually have them forfeited in a swift a stream of the justice system, as opposed to enrolling in the ordinary courts and waiting for a hearing date which may come, I don't know, in 2030.
As the department, we can confirm that the move will not hamper the momentum of the special tribunal. It should be noted that the special tribunal has national jurisdiction, and whenever there are physical hearings, any court, including Boysen's Magistrate Court, may be utilized for that purpose. And there's actually one of the judges currently with the special tribunal who's been operating from the offices since his appointment, and services have been running smoothly. And furthermore, the Special Investigating Unit is situated in Pretoria, and this will make it easier for the SIU to have access to the Special Tribunal offices for filing and exchange of documents more speedily.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for your time. Khalalelo Masibi is the Chief Director for Communications at the Department of Justice. At this point, I'm out of apologies for Zai. I don't even know how to apologize. I let things run away with me. So let me go straight to N. Musa with the latest news headlines.
Good morning. Thanks to us. In the headlines, the South African Municipal Workers Union will today lead a march to Tshwane House to demand the reinstatement of workers who were dismissed in 2021. The dismissals followed a salary increase dispute. Chairperson of Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police, Ian Cameron, believes the arrest of 10 police officers in Edenvale in Ekurhuleni will help root out corrupt officials within the police service. It's alleged the officers failed to book in evidence that was seized during a raid in June. And the Western Cape Mobility Department says it's important to celebrate the women who are the backbone of the freight industry. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, just on that march in Pretoria, marchers will gather up at the old Putco depot from 9 o'clock. They'll march, that's in the Marabastad area along Struben Street. Then they'll march off, making their way through to Tshwane House. So it might be a good idea just to avoid travel. If you've got any important meeting to do in Pretoria today, maybe postpone it. Or alternatively, give yourself plenty of time to get through Struben, Sophie de Brain, Madiba, Bosman, Paul Kruger, Thabo Sahumi, Lillian Ngoy. It's pretty much a full house of central roads that will be closed as that march moves along. Protesters should be out of the city centre by 2 p.m. Joburg, another crash this morning on the Mike 1 North at Caller Drive. It stays heavy coming through from the Crown Interchange. A crash on the M2 near Denver. So from the N3 highway at Heldenace, that's all fairly busy on your way into Joburg. Durban easing up quite nicely. No major problems. Everything where it sort of should be. Cape Town's had a very busy Wednesday morning. Took a gap yesterday with the rain, but back into high volumes this morning. Crash on the N2 inbound at Rapenburg Road, slowing traffic arriving from the airport. N1 inbound fairly heavy towards Sable Road. A crash on the N7 before Plattercliff Road, and Marine Drive coming off the West Coast Road out of Tableview. Still very heavy traffic down to Racecourse Road at Milnerton. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Good morning to you once again, Zai. Tell me about Miguel Cardoso. And the vow of vigilance as the Betway Premiership title defense looms for Masandawan.
Well, you know the Brazilians are ready to rock and rule because that's how they do it. And their coach is saying they are not underestimating the Premiership clubs as they aim for a record 9th title. They'll get their show on the road at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium in Gqeberha against Chippa United. Cardoso stressed that Sundowns, despite being reigning champions, will not rest on their laurels.
We are in a process of understanding how we're going to finish, but we know the direction where we want to go. The market is very big. We'll only end in the upcoming month of September, but a lot of important matches to play before. So let's focus on the next one and then on the next one. Understanding where we are, we come from a comfortable position, but not a comfort that we feel. We feel discomfort, and that's exactly what pushes ahead, is the discomfort that we feel. And when I speak about discomfort, is understanding that in a new season, there's a new history to be written, and we need to start from the first chapter, from the prologue before the first chapter. And if the prologue was written on the last weekend, we need to open the first chapter on the next one, and that's with the seriousness that we need to approach it.
Elsewhere, Son Heung-min agreed to a contract with Los Angeles FC, finalizing his move to Major League Soccer after a decade at Tottenham Hotspur. Now, Son was the beloved presence at Spurs, scoring 173 goals in 454 competitive appearances for the North London club. Let's go to netball. The baby Proteas goal shooter Mbali Dipoko says she's looking forward to achieving a personal milestone by playing in the World Cup for the first time. She shares her ambitions with just 2 weeks left before the World Cup.
My goal is to perform at my best, contribute to the team's success, and help South Africa to achieve a podium finish. And to achieve all this, I'll have to focus on intense training, teamwork, and mental preparation. Like, I'm committed to give my all in making my country proud.
Tennis action, Taylor Fritz beating the number 6 seed Andrei Rublev. That's to reach the semi-finals at the National Bank Open. And finally, cycling. Belgian Olympic gold medalist Remco Evenepoel will leave Soudal Quick-Step and join Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe at the end of the 2025 season. The 25-year-old, who's the former Vuelta España winner, who won gold in the road race and time trial at last year's Paris Games, joined Soudal Quick-Step in 2019. Now, in December, he collided with the open door of a vehicle while training in Belgium, suffering multiple fractures, a dislocated collarbone, and contusions to both lungs. And that's how we wrap it up. We'll cycle back with John Gericke around 12:30 with more sport. I'm Zai Khan.
The Business Update on SAFM.
Good morning to you once again in Dowling. Let's start with this. As a journalist following these events, any news of a policy disagreement between, these centers of power, for lack of a better word, being the Reserve Bank and National Treasury, is intriguing to follow how it will play itself out. But it is concerning for some of the players in the industry. Tell me what Nedbank has said about their concerns about this disagreement between the SARB and National Treasury over inflation targeting.
Now, in a Business Day article, the lender's CEO, Jason Quinn, stated that financial markets would be concerned about the dissonance between two important pillars of the market, that, of course, being National Treasury and the SARB, adding that he couldn't fault the logic behind the SARB's plan to target inflation at 3%, but believed the contestation between the central bank and Treasury was a surprise. In the meantime, the group is less optimistic about the economy. It's cut its growth expectations to 1% from 1.5%, which was forecasted earlier this year, pointing to trade uncertainties. Now, all the news comes alongside the group's half-year earnings. The lender reported a 4% rise in revenue, while earnings increased by 6%, benefiting from increased non-interest revenue. But Nedbank is also warning of slightly difficult trading conditions moving ahead, and so it's lowered its guidance for the full year. And that's not sitting well with traders, as its share price closed 5.7% lower in yesterday's session.
And then let's talk mining. The specter of illegal mining in the country is one that we consistently focus on. It rears its ugly head from time to time. Tell me what Pan African Resources is doing about that situation.
The miner says it's been working closely with law enforcement, and they've confirmed that they've arrested around 4,000 unauthorized miners at its underground operations in Mpumalanga over the past year. A recent incident at the company's Sheba mine in Barberton saw police detain around 494 illegal miners, sparking concerns about safety and security in the area. The mine, of course, saying it's been working closely with authorities to address the issue, which is exacerbated by the region's mountainous terrain and visible gold deposits, making it a target for illegal mining activities. Now, Pan African Resources further said it they've reported arrests of about 150 to 200 people weekly, highlighting the scale of the problem. The local police were initially overwhelmed, prompting Pan-African Resources to request assistance from the SA Police Service's Valamkoti operation. Now, this initiative aims to clamp down on illegal mining, and just last week, Pan-African reported that 500 people were found underground at its Sheba mine.
You know, darling, it doesn't feel right when you don't owe me anything or when you don't owe any of our listeners anything. Like, I don't like seeing you without an assignment. Folks, does anyone have something, ask something of this lady, we must keep her busy. Tap into the resources we have. Anyway, because I don't have an assignment for you, take me straight then to the markets and how today is likely to pan out.
Alrighty, so we are in for another day of green screens on the local front. In terms of company news, there are updates from Jubilee Metals and Sirius Real Estate. So traders will be digesting that at the open. Over in the currency scene, a softer dollar working in the rand's benefit. Some weakness coming through this hour, but still below the 18 rand mark. It's at 17.88 to the greenback. Then over in the commodities scene, oil holding steady at close to $67 per barrel. Meanwhile, stateside futures in the green, investors eyeing results from Ozempic maker Novo Nordisk, Uber, and Disney. Then lastly, in Asia, stocks rebounding this hour and on track to end the day mostly in the green, and that's despite the fresh tariff threats.
Yeah, I trust the listeners to come up with an assignment for you. By next week, Monday, you'll be very busy. And Dowling, thank you for that. And Dowling has kept you updated on business, economics, and the markets over the last 2.5 hours.
This Women's Month, SAFM stands with the women shaping South Africa's future. Under the theme, Building Resilient Economies for All, we honor the pioneers, the problem solvers, and the everyday heroes driving change. Stay tuned as SAFM brings you powerful stories and meaningful conversations that move us. SAFM, celebrating women, celebrating progress. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
Some quick voice notes before I go to Mokoena, who's holding on the line.
Good morning, Thulas and SAFM listeners. Thulas, let me say to Mr. Ramukhadi, when we took over the country in 1994, black people were so poor, black people, nobody knew about them. They meant nothing in the country. We voted for black people because they promised us a better life. They promised us to be better than the apartheid government. But today we find they are the same like the apartheid government. Lucy in Gauteng.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning. Your guest today about this issue of Lesotho. I don't know what she's trying to say because the people of Lesotho are all over in South Africa. So now she started to talk about the groups. I don't understand this. I don't understand all this. There are many people of Lesotho here undocumented. So now she comes back and say, we cannot trust these people. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Simelane and SAFM listeners. I think there may be military training somewhere in South Africa where our law enforcement need to check thoroughly because Lesotho is a small country, but we need not to undermine it. In Pretoria.
Yeah. All right. No, thank you for that. I did get the sense that perhaps the Deputy National Commissioner was playing her cards close to her chest, right? Individuals of concern and could not advance the argument further than that without revealing too much. I don't know. It's just me giving her the benefit of the doubt. In that when I asked about how is this different from ordinary unregulated illegal migration, she gave an explanation, but it didn't seem to me that she was adding anything in terms of what makes these people to be of concern. And she was saying that they were being briefed. Who was briefing them? She could not commit to that. So there's a sense in which I think I'm happy to give her the benefit of the doubt to say perhaps in the course of their investigations, we will learn a bit more detail about what made these individuals to be of concern in relation to the claim of military-style camps in South Africa, which she says do not exist as far as they've been able to ascertain from their investigation. Mokoena in Rustenburg, good morning to you.
Finally, Senior Councillor.
Hey, never. Not anytime soon.
I get to talk to you. I get to talk to you.
Let's talk, my brother.
Thulasizwe. There's this question that keeps coming into my mind. Do politicians, actually the ANC politicians, who are the majority party in South Africa currently as we speak, do they have love for black people?
Sure. Wow.
You just sit by yourself and ask yourself, does these guys, I see them when they are having their NEC meetings and all that, coming in, driving in those SUVs, in a flamboyant looking, all that. And what about the people that they voted for? What about the people that they made promise to in 1994 that they will bring a better country for them?
Sure.
That there will be equality.
Yeah. Hey, Mukwen.
I'm looking now at this ad hoc committee. They chose to go for Soviet Lekhanyan as the chairperson, and we've seen the behavior which was untoward with all the other chairpersons of these ad hoc committees. And once they need to think and say, let the people come first.
Right.
And okay, I was not there. It's right about Menier Peter Louis Mayberg. What he did, I think it's good. It needs to be applauded. But I feel that they need to be a balance. They need to strike a balance when they are reporting.
All right.
You look at him in 2017, he wrote the book, The Republic of Gupta, and 2017. And then in 2019, he wrote the book, The Gangster State. And you are asking yourself, from 2019 until up to date, it's 6 years. Why he did not write another book about something? There have been lots of shenanigans within the ruling party. People have written about something about that.
All right, Mukona, thank you for that. I've got to move on and quickly take Mr. Matebe. Good morning to you, Mr. Matebe.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes. Have you heard about the Constitutional Court Trust?
Constitutional Court Trust?
Yes.
No, I haven't heard of it. No, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, I'm just giving you an assignment. As you said, who's the previous economic presenter?
You're meant to assign Dowling, not me. That's the person we give assignments to, not me.
No, I was saying Dowling, she's listening. What I want to learn it so that tomorrow we can discuss it.
Concord Trust.
Yes.
What does it do? Briefly, before I do my assignment.
Yes. Oh, I wanted also to go where who are the donators, these big corporates. Yes, I wanted you so that you can go. Then tomorrow we can discuss it and check it. Who are the donators?
Is it a civil society organization?
No, it's a trust fund of the Constitutional Court. So it covers these human rights investigations where people are even bursaries. But also, I wanted you to just be aware of it and who are the donators, so that we can discuss it further.
All right, Mr. Matebe. So you'll call tomorrow and we'll pick up the conversation.
When I call, they say they'll call you back. They don't call. I'm on the line for too long.
I hear you.
Then
Yeah, days are not the same. But thank you for that. I will go and do the research and find out a bit more about it, and then hopefully we can pick up the conversation.
Can engage. Please.
All right, Mr. Matebe in Siabuswa. Let me go to Molale in Mangaung. Good morning to you. Okay, hold on a second, Molale. Something is happening that shouldn't be. Yeah, now I've got you. Please go ahead.
How are you, sir?
Very well. How are you?
I'm fine. Sir, I'm concerned about this issue that every time a person is arrested or is exposed for corruption, then you think about his or her skin color. It can't be right.
Yeah.
The lady knew what she was doing when she took money to private journalists. Now she's caught not because she's been targeted because she's black. I don't think that's the truth. And obviously, because we've got a black government with more black people in higher position, to be black, not white, to be arrested. During the apartheid era, the info scandal, only whites were involved because of the white government.
Yeah.
Now we've got a black government. We've seen people in senior position being black. And if they commit crime, they will be arrested and they will be exposed. We can't say now because they've been caught out, then we'll look at the skin color.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Gotcha.
The crime is important here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mulale, thank you for that. I find nothing that I can quibble with, especially because when people engage in that kind of conduct, they do not represent me as a black person. Speaking for myself, they absolutely do not represent me. That's not who I am. That's not what I expect of people who serve in a government that knows and understands the kind of difficult conditions in which people live on a day-to-day basis. A government that initially in 1994, when it came in, it was laden with moral authority, moral rectitude. The whole world willed the government to perform better. We had absolutely no expectations of the apartheid government as ordinary, the majority of South Africans. Zero expectations that they would serve our interests. But this government, the government that took over in 1994 and subsequent administration, absolutely we had expectations of them. So when that happens in the public sector at any level, at any institution, organ of state, that behavior, I speak for myself, it doesn't represent who I am as a black person.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. The Mike 1 up into Sandton remains heavy. It's another crash. We had one up by Greyston this morning, another one just before Corlett Drive. So getting up from Parktown through Houghton and on your way in towards that Melrose area stays busy. N3, chock-a-block at the run from London Road, passing Alex and Limbro Park up towards Buccleuch interchange territory. And if you're coming out of Pretoria, there's been a crash on the N1 South just past the R21. So some queues coming down from Rigel Avenue side. Durban's eased up nicely. Bit of busyness coming out of Pinetown on the M13. Just down towards Paradise Valley. The M4 has got an unusual queue heading up towards Mhlanga. Just going to sit at Virginia Airport for a little bit this morning to get through that one. And Cape Town has been a very busy Wednesday. Still plenty of traffic on Route 1 from Plattekloof Road all the way through to the city centre. N2's backing up just after the airport from Robert Sobukwe. Looking heavy through to Hospital Bend. Couple of broken down vehicles to work through there. Behind that, the M5's at Kenilworth. And the M3 still chock-a-block coming through from bottom of Wynberg Hill up into the Bishop's Court area. Also just a bit unusual is the backlog coming out of Tableview this morning. Marine Drive still very slow from Bayside down to Racecourse Road in the Milnerton area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
All right, let's end off today on this note. Kenny Gunene, the suspended deputy leader of the Patriotic Alliance, has lost his appeal against a ruling that found his remarks about EFF leader Julius Malema constituted hate speech. The High Court in Johannesburg confirming that Gunene's repeated reference to Malema as a quote-unquote cockroach during a televised interview in 2021 violated the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act, PEPUDA, the Equality Act. So let's take that conversation further. I'm joined by Professor Angelo Dube, who is director at the School of Law at UNISA. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. Coincidentally, I did that interview with Kenny Gunene in 2021, which has now landed him in a spot of bother. But that's not the point. The point is, Prof, what do we make of the fact that the decision written by Judge Stuart Wilson for the full bench, in a way, brings front and center the issue of political ideology or affiliation as one of the grounds on which hate speech can be founded? That's a novel finding, is it not, given that there's a list of about 10 grounds that are listed?
Thank you so much for having me. Indeed, the judgment is a little bit bizarre from a professional perspective. especially given that if you if you move from Section 16.2 of the Constitution, the grounds are limited there, and then if you move to Section 10 of the Equality Act, the grounds are. But that's how the court approached it is rather alarming. That the use of the term cockroaches in the context in which Mr. Gunene used it, the judge tried to put on par with the usage of the same word in the Rwanda genocide. However, if you look at the context of Rwanda, there it was clear that the word was used as a cord to send a message to comrades, that comrades, because they couldn't say go and kill the Tutsis or go and kill the Hutus, they had to use the word crush for killing and use the word cockroaches for the other tribe. So there was a cord there to say, let's go and annihilate this other group on the basis of their ethnicity. However, in the Kenny Gunene case, Gunene was insulted by Malema, and he responded out of anger, of course. Yes, it might be insulting to Malema, but is it hurtful and is it hateful? Is it hate speech? That's a totally different ball game, and I believe that the court stretched it too far. Right now, I think if Kenny is okay with the apology to save costs, he can simply apologize and move on. But if he wants the matter closed off properly, he needs to appeal the matter onwards, because the stretching of the interpretation of the word cockroach was outside the context in which it was used.
So take it step by step for us then, Prof. We have these 10 grounds, right? They include race, gender, ethnicity, religious affiliation, belief, and things like those. Then we have, as far as I understand, what analogous grounds that are not listed, but it's something I can't change about myself. And if you advocate hatred based on that, that becomes hate speech. How does this sit? Is it not an analogous ground, this whole idea of a political ideology or affiliation? Does it not fit for you within analogous grounds?
In my perspective, it does not, in the sense that it is the nature of politics for politicians to throw jibes at each other, to use crude language, because it's in the nature of the business that they do. Each one is trying to appear to be extremely popular and extremely likable to the populace that he needs votes from. So when Malema called Kenny Gunene a criminal, for him at least, that was a truthful thing, because this is a former convict. He was trying to be sent off in the eyes of the people. Pointed to the cockroach. He was also trying to do the same, to say he's a little cockroach, he's a nobody. But the hatred cannot be. The analogous ground that the court tried to go to was that.
Prof, I don't know what's happening with your line. It's now cutting.
Not just the ground itself.
Your line was cutting there, Prof, for a moment. We were now hearing you intermittently.
Okay.
Let me see if it has improved.
All right.
So one of my listeners brings the point home that I wanted to raise about what does this judgment then say about the jurisprudence of the Equality Court and the courts to which judgments of the Equality Court have been appealed. What does it say? This listener says, but Malema can sing Kill the Farmer. What a pathetic country. Sis. So reconcile that for us. Yeah. Prof?
Yes, I can hear you now.
So
Look,
I was saying reconcile that whole, what do we read into our understandings of what constitutes hate speech and what doesn't, given the body of work that these courts have done?
This recent judgment just threw a spanner into the works because of the elastic nature of its interpretation of the hateful and hateful nature of the words that were utilized. It would be lovely for it to be appealed further, so that perhaps the Supreme Court can ventilate on it and all the way to the Constitutional Court, because the way it is being stretched is becoming dangerous. If I call you a blue shirted cockroach because you're wearing a blue shirt, does that mean, am I inciting anyone to direct violence at you on account of your blue shirt? Is that hateful? That's not the architecture of hate speech. That's not the intention of the legislature. But that's not what the legislature had in mind when they created that law. We need to understand where hate speech came from. Because of the political and repressive nature of the past, where race, ethnicity, gender, religion, and other grounds were used to oppress as a portion of society, we needed to then say, never again, this must never happen. But as for politicians throwing jibes at each other, we shouldn't necessarily entertain that as courts and then call it hate speech. Otherwise, there will be no protected speech at all in the Republic if we continue to stretch it like the court did.
All right, Prof. Thank you for your time and your insights this morning. That's Professor Angelo Dube, Director at the School of Law at UNISA. That's it, really. Our full and final account to you in lieu of your morning brief this morning. Stand by. The Talking Point is up next after the news. And today with KG Mweketsi. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane, and you've been briefed.
In our top stories, SAMU march demanding reinstatement of municipal workers, and UN alarmed by reports about possible expansion of Israeli operations. Good morning. The South African Municipal Workers Union, SAMU, will today lead a march to Tshwane House to demand the reinstatement of workers who were dismissed in 2021. The dismissals followed a salary increase dispute